The Deuteronomy chapter 1. These are the words which Moses spoke to all Israel beyond the Jordan in the wilderness, in the Arabah opposite Suf, between Paran and Tophel and Laban and Hazeroth and Dizahab. It is 11 days' journey from Horeb by the way of Mount Seir to Kadesh Barnea. And it came to pass in the 40th year, in the 11th month, on the first day of the month, that Moses spoke to the sons of Israel, according to all that Lord had given him in commandment to them, after he had smitten Sihon, the king of the Amorites, who dwelt in Heshbon, and Og the king of Bashan, who dwelt in Ashtaroth, at Edrei. Beyond the Jordan, in the land of Moab, Moses began to declare this law, saying, Lord our God spoke to us in Horeb, saying, Ye have dwelt long enough at this mountain. Turn and take your journey, and go to the hill country of the Amorites, and to all the places near thereto, in the Arabah, in the hill country, and in the lowland, and in the south, and by the seashore, the land of the Canaanite. Behold, I have set the land before you. Go in and possess the land which Lord swore to your fathers, to Abraham, to Isaac, and to Jacob, to give to them and to their seed after them. And I spoke to you at that time, saying, I am not able to bear you myself alone. Lord your God has multiplied you, and behold, ye are this day as the stars of heaven for multitude. Lord, the God of your fathers, make you 1,000 times as many as ye are, and bless you, as he has promised you. How can I myself alone bear your encumbrance, and your burden, and your strife? Take for you wise men, and understanding, and known, according to your tribes, and I will make them heads over you. And ye answered me, and said, The thing which thou have spoken is good to do. So I took the heads of your tribes, wise men, and known, and made them heads over you, captains of thousands, and captains of hundreds, and captains of 50s, and captains of 10s, and officers, according to your tribes. And I charged your judges at that time, saying, Hear between your brothers, and judge righteously between a man and his brother, and the sojourner who is with him. Ye shall not respect persons in judgment. Ye shall hear the small and the great alike. Ye shall not be afraid of the face of man, for the judgment is God's. And the case that is too hard for you ye shall bring to me, and I will and I commanded you at that time all the things which ye should do. And we journeyed from Horeb and went through all that great and terrible wilderness, which ye saw by the way to the hill country of the Amorites, as Lord our God commanded us, and we came to Kadesh Barnea. And I said to you, Ye have come to the hill country of the Amorites, which Lord our God gives to us. Behold, Lord thy God has set the land before thee. Go up, take possession, as Lord the God of thy fathers has spoken to thee. Fear not, neither be dismayed. And ye came near to me, all of you, and said, Let us send men before us, that they may search the land for us, and bring us word again of the way by which we must go up, and the cities to which we shall come. And the thing pleased me well. And I took 12 men of you, 1 man for every tribe. And they turned and went up into the hill country, and came to the valley of Eshcol, and spied it out. And they took of the fruit of the land in their hands, and brought it down to us, and brought us word again, and said, It is a good land which Lord our God gives to us. Yet ye would not go up, but rebelled against the commandment of Lord your God. And ye murmured in your tents, and said, Because Lord hated us, he has brought us forth out of the land of Egypt, to deliver us into the hand of the Amorites, to destroy us. Where are we going up? Our brothers have made our heart to melt, saying, The people are greater and taller than we. The cities are great and fortified up to heaven. And moreover, we have seen the sons of the Anakim there. Then I said to you, Dread not, neither be afraid of them. Lord your God, who goes before you, he will fight for you, according to all that he did for you in Egypt before your eyes, and in the wilderness, where thou have seen how that Lord thy God bore thee, as a man bears his son, in all the way that ye went, until ye came to this place. Yet In this thing ye did not believe Lord your God, who went before you in the way, to seek out a place for you to pitch your tents in fire by night, to show you by what way ye should go, and in the cloud by day. And Lord heard the voice of your words, and was angry, and swore, saying, Surely there shall not one of these men of this evil generation see the good land, which I swore to give to your fathers, except Caleb, the son of Jephunneh. He shall see it, and I will give to him the land that he has trodden upon, and to his sons, because he has wholly followed Lord. Also Lord was angry with me for your sakes, saying, Thou also shalt not go in there. Joshua the son of Nun, who stands before thee, he shall go in there. Encourage thou him, for he shall cause Israel to inherit it. Moreover, your little ones, who ye said would be a prey, and your sons, who this day have no knowledge of good or evil, they shall go in there, and I will give it to them, and they shall possess it. But as for you, turn, and take your journey into the wilderness by the way to the Red Sea. Then ye answered and said to me, We have sinned against Lord. We will go up and fight according to all that Lord our God commanded us. And ye girded on every man his weapons of war, and were forward to go up into the hill country. And Lord said to me, Say to them, Do not go up, neither fight, for I am not among you, lest ye be smitten before your enemies. So I spoke to you, and ye did not hearken, but ye rebelled against the commandment of Lord, and were presumptuous, and went up into the hill country. And the Amorites, who dwelt in that hill country, came out against you, and chased you as bees do, and beat you down in Seir, even to Hormah. And ye returned and wept before Lord. But Lord did not hearken to your voice, nor gave ear to you. So ye abode in Kadesh many days, according to the days that ye abode there. Chapter 2. Then we turned and took our journey into the wilderness by the way to the Red Sea, as Lord spoke to me. And we encompassed Mount Seir many days. And Lord spoke to me, saying, Ye have encompassed this mountain long enough, turn northward, and command the people, saying, Ye are to pass through the border of your brothers, the sons of Esau, who dwell in Seir, and they will be afraid of you. Take ye good heed to yourselves, therefore. Do not contend with them, for I will not give you of their land, no, not so much as for the sole of the foot to tread on, because I have given Mount Seir to Esau for a possession. Ye shall purchase food from them for money, that ye may eat, and ye shall also buy water from them for money, that ye may drink. For Lord thy God has blessed thee in all the work of thy hand. He has known thy walking through this great wilderness. These 40 years Lord thy God has been with thee, thou have lacked nothing. So we passed by from our brothers, the sons of Esau, who dwell in Seir, from the way of the Arabah, from Elath, and from Ezion-Geber. And we turned and passed by the way of the wilderness of Moab. And Lord said to me, Do not vex Moab, neither contend with them in battle. For I will not give thee of his land for a possession, because I have given Ar to the sons of Lot for a possession. The Emim dwelt in it formerly, a people great and many and tall, as the Anakim. These also are accounted Rephaim, as the Anakim, but the Moabites call them Emim. The Horites also dwelt in Seir formerly, but the sons of Esau succeeded them, and they destroyed them from before them, and dwelt in their stead, as Israel did to the land of his possession, which Lord gave to them. Now rise up, and get you over the brook Zered. And we went over the brook Zered. And the days in which we came from Kadesh Barnea until we came over the brook Zered were 38 years, until all the generation of the men of war were consumed from the midst of the camp, as Lord swore to them. Moreover, the hand of Lord was against them, to destroy them from the midst of the Mishranilathos, the camp, until they were consumed. So it came to pass, when all the men of war were consumed and dead from among the people, that Lord spoke to me, saying, Thou art this day to pass over Ar, the border of Moab. And when thou come near opposite the sons of Ammon, do not vex them, nor contend with them. For I will not give thee of the land of the sons of Ammon for a possession, because I have given it to the sons of Lot for a possession. That also is accounted a land of Rephaim. Rephaim dwelt in it formerly, but the Ammonites call them Zamzummim, a people great and many and tall as the Anakim. But Lord destroyed them before them, and they succeeded them, and dwelt in their stead, as he did for the sons of Esau, who dwell in Seir, when he destroyed the Horites from before them. And they succeeded them, and dwelt in their stead even to this day. And the Avim, who dwelt in villages as far as Gaza, the Captorim, who came forth out of Caphtor, destroyed them, and dwelt in their stead. Rise ye up, take your journey, and pass over the valley of the Arnon. Behold, I have given into thy hand Sihon the Amorite, king of Heshbon, and his land. Begin to possess it, and contend with him in battle. This day I will begin to put the dread of thee and the fear of thee upon the peoples who are under the whole heaven, who shall hear the report of thee, and shall tremble, and be in anguish because of thee. And I sent messengers out of the wilderness of Kedemoth to Sihon king of Heshbon with words of peace, saying, Let me pass through thy land. I will go along by the highway. I will turn neither to the right hand nor to the left. Thou shalt sell me food for money that I may eat, and give me water for money that I may drink. Only let me pass through on my feet, as the sons of Esau, who dwell in Seir, and the Moabites who dwell in Ar, did to me, until I shall pass over the Jordan into the land which Lord our God gives us. But Sihon king of Heshbon would not let us pass by him. For Lord thy God hardened his spirit and made his heart obstinate, that he might deliver him into thy hand, as at this day. And Lord said to me, Behold, I have begun to deliver up Sihon and his land before thee. Begin to possess, that thou may inherit his land. Then Sihon came out against us, he and all his people, to battle at Jahaz. And Lord our God delivered him up before us, and we smote him, and his sons and all his people. And we took all his cities at that time, and utterly destroyed every inhabited city, with the women and the little ones. We left none remaining. We only took the cattle for a prey to ourselves, with the spoil of the cities which we had taken. From Aroer, which is on the edge of the valley of the Arnon, and from the city that is in the valley, even to Gilead, there was not a city too high for us. Lord our God delivered up all before us. Only to the land of the sons of Ammon thou did not come near, all the side of the river Jabbok and the cities of the hill country, and wherever Lord our God forbade us. Chapter 3. Then we turned and went up the way to Bashan, and Og the king of Bashan came out against us, he and all his people, to battle at Edrei. And Lord said to me, Fear him not, for I have delivered him and all his people and his land into thy hand. And thou shalt do to him as thou did to Sihon king of the Amorites, who dwelt at Heshbon. So Lord our God delivered into our hand Og also, the king of Bashan, and all his people, and we smote him until none was left to him remaining. And we took all his cities at that time. There was not a city which we did not take from them, 60 cities, all the region of Argob, the kingdom of Og in Bashan. All these were cities fortified with high walls, gates, and bars, besides the unwalled towns, a great many. And we utterly destroyed them, as we did to Sihon king of Heshbon, utterly destroying every inhabited city, with the women and the little ones. But all the cattle and the spoil of the cities we took for a prey to ourselves. And we took the land at that time out of the hand of the 2 kings of the Amorites who were beyond the Jordan, from the valley of the Arnon to Mount Hermon. The Sidonians call Hermon Syrian, and the Amorites call it Senir, all the cities of the plain, and all Gilead, and all Bashan, to Salekah and Edrei, cities of the kingdom of Og in Bashan. For only Og king of Bashan remained of the remnant of the Rephaim. Behold, his bedstead was a bedstead of iron. Is it not in Rabbah of the sons of Ammon? 9 cubits was the length of it, and 4 cubits the breadth of it, after T. And we took this land in possession at that time, from Aroer, which is by the valley of the Arnon, and half the hill country of Gilead, and the cities of it, I gave to the Reubenites and to the Gadites. And the rest of Gilead, and all Bashan, the kingdom of Og, I gave to the half-tribe of Manasseh, all the region of Argob, even all Bashan. The same is called the land of Rephaim. Jair the son of Manasseh took all the region of Argob, to the border of the Geshurites and the Maacathites, and called them even Bashan, after his own name, Havothjair, to this day. And I gave Gilead to Machir, and I gave to the Reubenites and to the Gadites from Gilead even to the valley of the Arnon, the middle of the valley, and the border of it, even to the river Jabbok, which is the border of the sons of Ammon, also the Arabah and the Jordan and the border of it, from Chinnereth even to the sea of the Arabah, the salt sea, under the slopes of Pisgah eastward. And I commanded you at that time, saying, Lord your God has given you this land to possess it. Ye shall pass over armed before your brothers, the sons of Israel, all the men of valor, but your wives and your little ones, and your cattle, I know that ye have much cattle, shall abide in your cities which I have given you until Lord gives rest to your brothers, as to you, and they also possess the land which Lord your God gives them beyond the Jordan. Then ye shall return every man to his possession which I have given you. And I commanded Joshua at that time, saying, Thine eyes have seen all that Lord your God has done to these two kings. So shall Lord do to all the kingdoms where thou go over. Ye shall not fear them, for Lord your God, he it is who fights for you. And I besought Lord at that time, saying, O Lord, Lord, thou have begun to show thy servant thy greatness and thy strong hand. For what God is there in heaven or in earth that can do according to thy works and according to thy mighty acts? Let me go over, I pray thee, and see the good land that is beyond the Jordan, that goodly mountain and Lebanon. But Lord was angry with me because of you, and did not hearken to me. And Lord said to me, It shall be enough for thee. Speak no more to me of this matter. Get thee up to the top of Pisgah, and lift up thine eyes westward, and northward, and southward, and eastward, and behold with thine eyes, for thou shalt not go over this Jordan. But charge Joshua, and encourage him, and strengthen him, for he shall go over before this people, and he shall cause them to inherit the land which thou shalt see. So we abode in the valley opposite Beth Peor. At chapter 4. And now, O Israel, hearken to the statutes and to the ordinances which I teach you, to do them, that ye may live, and go in, and possess the land which Lord the God of your fathers gives you. Ye shall not add to the word which I command you, neither shall ye diminish from it, that ye may keep the commandments of Lord your God which I command you. Your eyes have seen what Lord did because of Baal-peor. For all the men who followed Baal-peor, Lord thy God has destroyed them from the midst of thee. But ye who clung to Lord your God are alive, every one of you, this day. Behold, I have taught you statutes and ordinances, even as Lord my God commanded me, that ye should do so in the midst of the land where ye go in to possess it. Keep therefore and do them, for this is your wisdom and your understanding in the sight of the peoples, who shall hear all these statutes and say, Surely this great nation is a wise and understanding people. For what great nation is there that has a God so near to them as Lord our God is whenever we call upon him? And what great nation is there that has statutes and ordinances so righteous as all this law, which I set before you this day? Only take heed to thyself, and keep thy soul diligently, lest thou forget the things which thine eyes saw, and lest they depart from thy heart all the days of thy life, but make them known to thy sons and thy sons' sons. The day that thou stood before Lord thy God in Horeb, when Lord said to me, Assemble the people to me, and I will make them hear my words, that they may learn to fear me all the days that they live upon the earth, and that they may. And ye came near and stood under the mountain, and the mountain burned with fire to the heart of heaven, with darkness, cloud, and thick darkness. And Lord spoke to you out of the midst of the fire. Ye heard the voice of words, but ye saw no form, only a voice. And he declared to you his covenant, which he commanded you to perform, even the 10 commandments. And he wrote them upon 2 tablets of stone. And Lord commanded me at the time to teach you statutes and ordinances, that ye might do them in the land where ye go over to possess it. Take ye therefore good heed to yourselves, for ye saw no manner of form on the day that Lord spoke to you in Horeb out of the midst of the fire, lest ye corrupt yourselves, and make for you a graven image in the form of any figure, the likeness of male or female, the likeness of any beast that is on the earth, the likeness of any winged bird that flies in the sky, the likeness of anything that creeps on the ground, the likeness of any fish that is in the water under the earth. And lest thou lift up thine eyes to heaven, and when thou see the sun and the moon and the stars, even all the host of heaven, thou be drawn away and worship them and serve them, which Lord thy God has allotted to all the peoples. But Lord has taken you and brought you forth out of the iron furnace, out of Egypt, to be to him a people of inheritance, as at this day. Furthermore, Lord was angry with me because of you, and swore that I would not go over the Jordan, and that I would not go into that good land which Lord thy God gives thee for an inheritance. But I must die in this land. I must not go over the Jordan, but ye shall go over and possess that good land. Take heed to yourselves, lest ye forget the covenant of Lord your God which he made with you, and make you a graven image in the form of anything which Lord thy God has forbidden thee. For Lord thy God is a consuming fire, a jealous God. When thou shalt beget sons and sons' sons, and ye shall have been long in the land, and shall corrupt yourselves, and make a graven image in the form of anything, and shall do that which is evil in the sight of Lord thy God, to par I call heaven and earth to witness against you this day, that ye shall soon utterly perish from off the land to which ye go over the Jordan to possess it. Ye shall not prolong your days upon it, but shall be utterly destroyed. And Lord will scatter you among the peoples, and ye shall be left few in number among the nations where Lord shall lead you away. And there ye shall serve gods, the work of men's hands, wood and stone, which neither see, nor hear, nor eat, nor smell. But from there ye shall seek Lord thy God, and thou shalt find him when thou search after him with all thy heart and with all thy soul. When thou art in tribulation, and all these things have come upon thee, in the latter days thou shalt return to Lord thy God, and hearken to his voice. For Lord thy God is a merciful God. He will not fail thee, neither destroy thee, nor forget the covenant of thy fathers which he swore to them. For ask now of the days that are past, which were before thee, since the day that God created man upon the earth, and from the one end of heaven to the other, whether there has been anything, as this great thing is, or has been. He did a people ever hear the voice of God speaking out of the midst of the fire, as thou have heard and live? Or has God essayed to go and take for him a nation from the midst of another nation, by trials, by signs, and by wonders, and by war, and by a mighty hand, and by an outstretched arm, and by great terrors, according to all that like it was shown to thee, that thou might know that Lord, he is God. There is none else besides him. Out of heaven he made thee to hear his voice, that he might instruct thee. And upon earth he made thee to see his great fire, and thou heard his words out of the midst of the fire. And because he loved thy fathers, therefore he chose their seed after them, and brought thee out with his presence, with his great power, out of Egypt, to drive out nations from before thee greater and mightier than thou, to bring thee in, to give thee their land for an inheritance, as at this day. Know therefore this day, and lay it to thy heart, that Lord, he is God in heaven above and upon the earth beneath. There is none else. And thou shalt keep his statutes and his commandments, which I command thee this day, that it may go well with thee, and with thy sons after thee, and that thou may prolong thy days in the land which Lord thy God gives thee. For Then Moses set apart 3 cities beyond the Jordan toward the sunrise, that the manslayer might flee there who kills his neighbor unawares and did not hate him in time past, and that fleeing to one of these cities he might live, namely Bezer in the wilderness, in the plain country for the Reubenites, and Ramoth in Gilead for the Gadites, and Golan and Bashan for the Manassites. And this is the law which Moses set before the sons of Israel. These are the testimonies and the statutes and the ordinances which Moses spoke to the sons of Israel when they came forth out of Egypt beyond the Jordan, in the valley opposite Beth-peor, in the land of Sihon king of the Amorites, who dwelt at Heshbon, whom Moses and the sons of Israel smote when they came forth out of Egypt. And they took his land in possession, and the land of Og king of Bashan, the 2 kings of the Amorites, who were beyond the Jordan toward the sunrise from Aroer, which is on the edge of the valley of the Arnon, even to Mount Sion, the same is Hermon, and all the Arabah beyond the Jordan eastward, even to the sea of the Arabah under the slopes of Pisgah. Chapter 5. And Moses called to all Israel and said to them, Hear, O Israel, the statutes and the ordinances which I speak in your ears this day, that ye may learn them and observe to do them. Lord our God made a covenant with us in Horeb. Lord did not make this covenant with our fathers, but with us, even us, who are all of us here alive this day. Lord spoke with you face to face in the mount out of the midst of the fire. I stood between Lord and you at that time to show you the word of Lord. For ye were afraid because of the fire, and did not go up onto the mount, saying, I am Lord thy God, who brought thee out of the land of Egypt, out of the house of bondage. Thou shalt have no other gods before me. Thou shalt not make to thee a graven image, any likeness that is in heaven above, or that is on the earth beneath, or that is in the water under the earth. Thou shalt not bow down thyself to them, nor serve them. For I, Lord thy God, am a jealous God, visiting the iniquity of the fathers upon the children, and upon the 3rd and upon the 4th generation of those who hate me, and showing loving kindness to thousands of those who love me and keep my commandments. Thou shalt not take the name of Lord thy God in vain, for Lord will not hold him guiltless who takes his name in vain. Observe the Sabbath day to keep it holy, as Lord thy God commanded thee. 6 days thou shalt labor, and do all thy work. But the 7th day is a Sabbath to Lord thy God. Thou shalt not do any work, thou, nor thy son, nor thy daughter, nor thy manservant, nor thy maidservant, nor thine ox, nor thy donkey, nor any of thy cattle, nor thy stranger thou. And thou shalt remember that thou wert a servant in the land of Egypt, and Lord thy God brought thee out from there by a mighty hand and by an outstretched arm. Therefore Lord thy God commanded thee to keep the Sabbath day. Honor thy father and thy mother as Lord thy God commanded thee, that thy days may be long, and that it may go well with thee in the land which Lord thy God gives thee. Thou shalt not murder, neither shalt thou commit adultery, neither shalt thou steal, neither shalt thou bear false witness against thy neighbor, neither shalt thou covet thy neighbor's wife, neither shalt thou desire thy neighbor's house, his field, or his manservant, or his maidservant, his ox, or his donkey, or anything that is thy neighbor's. These words Lord spoke to all your assembly on the mount out of the midst of the fire, of the cloud, and of the thick darkness, with a great voice. And he added no more. And he wrote them upon 2 tablets of stone, and gave them to. And it came to pass, when ye heard the voice out of the midst of the darkness, while the mountain was burning with fire, that ye came near to me, even all the heads of your tribes and your elders. And ye said, Behold, Lord our God has shown us his glory and his greatness, and we have heard his voice out of the midst of the fire. We have seen this day that God speaks with man, and he lives. Now therefore why should we die? For this great fire will consume us. If we hear the voice of Lord our God any more, then we shall die. For who is there of all flesh who has heard the voice of the living God speaking out of the midst of the fire? as we have and lived. Go thou near and hear all that Lord our God shall say, and speak thou to us all that Lord our God shall speak to thee, and we will hear it, and do it. And Lord heard the voice of your words when ye spoke to me. And Lord said to me, I have heard the voice of the words of this people, which they have spoken to thee. They have well said all that they have spoken. Oh, that there were such a heart in them that they would fear me and keep all my commandments always, that it might be well with them and with their sons forever. Go say to them, return ye to your tents. But as for thee, stand thou here by me, and I will speak to thee all the commandment, and the statutes, and the ordinances which thou shalt teach them, that they may do them in the land which I give them to possess it. Ye shall observe to do therefore, as Lord your God has commanded you. Ye shall not turn aside to the right hand or to the left. Ye shall walk in all the way which Lord your God has commanded you, that ye may live, and that it may be well with you, and that ye may prolong your days in the land which ye shall possess. Chapter 6. Now this is the commandment, the statutes, and the ordinances, which Lord your God commanded to teach you, that ye might do them in the land where ye go over to possess it, that thou might fear Lord thy God, to keep all his statutes and his commandments, which I command thee, thou, and thy son, and thy son's son, all the days of thy life, and that thy days may be prolonged. Hear therefore, O Israel, and observe to do it, that it may be well with thee, and that ye may increase mightily, as Lord, the God of thy fathers, has promised to thee in a land flowing with milk and honey. Hear, O Israel, Lord our God is one Lord, and thou shalt love Lord thy God with all thy heart, and with all thy soul, and with all thy might. And these words which I command thee this day shall be upon thy heart, and thou shalt teach them diligently to thy sons, and shalt talk of them when thou sit in thy house, and when thou walk by the way, and when thou lay down, and when thou rise up. And thou shalt bind them for a sign upon thy hand, and they shall be for frontlets between thine eyes. And thou shalt write them upon the doorposts of thy house, and upon thy gates. And it shall be, when Lord thy God shall bring thee into the land which he swore to thy fathers, to Abraham, to Isaac, and to Jacob, to give thee great and goodly cities, which thou did not build, and houses full of all good things, which thou did not fill, and cisterns hewn out, which thou did not hew, vineyards and olive trees, which thou did not plant, and thou shalt eat and be full. Then beware lest thou forget Lord, who brought thee forth out of the land of Egypt, out of the house of bondage. Thou shalt fear Lord thy God, and him thou shalt serve, and shalt swear by his name. Ye shall not go after other gods of the gods of the peoples that are round about you. For Lord, thy God in the midst of thee is a jealous God, lest the anger of Lord thy God be kindled against thee, and he destroy thee from off the face of the earth. Ye shall not challenge Lord your God, as ye challenged him in Massah. Ye shall diligently keep the commandments of Lord your God, and his testimonies and his statutes, which he has commanded thee. And thou shalt do that which is right and good in the sight of Lord, that it may be well with thee, and that thou may go in and possess the good land which Lord swore to thy fathers, to thrust out all thine enemies from before thee, as Lord has spoken. When thy son asks thee in time to come, saying, What is the meaning of the testimonies, and the statutes, and the ordinances, which Lord our God has commanded you? Then thou shalt say to thy son, We were Pharaoh's bondmen in Egypt, and Lord brought us out of Egypt with a mighty hand. And Lord showed signs and wonders, great and grievous, upon Egypt, upon Pharaoh, and upon all his house before our eyes. And he brought us out from there, that he might bring us in to give us the land which he swore to our fathers. And Lord commanded us to do all these statutes, to fear Lord our God for our good always, that he might preserve us alive as at this day. And it shall be righteousness to us if we observe to do all this commandment before Lord our God as he has commanded us. Chapter 7. When Lord thy God shall bring thee into the land where thou go to possess it, and shall cast out many nations before thee, the Hittite, and the Girgashite, and the Amorite, and the Canaanite, and the Perizzite, and the Hivite, and when Lord thy God shall deliver them up before thee, and thou shalt smite them, then thou shalt utterly destroy them. Thou shalt make no covenant with them, nor show mercy to them, neither shalt thou make marriages with them. Thy daughter thou shalt not give to his son, nor his daughter shalt thou take to thy son. For he will turn away thy son from following me, that they may serve other gods, so the anger of Lord will be kindled against you, and he will destroy thee quickly. But thus shall ye deal with them. Ye shall break down their altars, and dash in pieces their pillars, and hew down their Asherim, and burn their graven images with fire. For thou art a holy people to Lord thy God. Lord thy God has chosen thee to be a people for his own possession, above all peoples that are upon the face of the earth. Lord did not set his love upon you, nor choose you, because ye were more in number than any people, for ye were the fewest of all peoples. But because Lord loves you, and because he would keep the oath which he swore to your fathers, Lord has brought you out with a mighty hand and redeemed you out of the house of bondage, from the hand of Pharaoh, king of Egypt. Know therefore that Lord thy God, he is God, the faithful God, who keeps covenant and loving kindness with those who love him and keep his commandments to 1,000 generations, and repays those who hate him to their face, to destroy them. He will not be slack to him who hates him, he will repay him to his face. Thou shalt therefore keep the commandment, and the statutes, and the ordinances, which I command thee this day, to do them. And it shall come to pass, because ye hearken to these ordinances, and keep and do them, that Lord thy God will keep with thee the covenant, and the loving kindness which he swore to thy fathers. And he will love thee, and bless thee, and multiply thee. He will also bless the fruit of thy body, and the fruit of thy ground, thy grain, and thy new wine, and thine oil, the increase of thy cattle, and the young of thy flock. In thee thou shalt be blessed above all peoples. There shall not be male or female barren among you or among your cattle. And Lord will take away from thee all sickness, and none of the evil diseases of Egypt which thou know will he put upon thee, but will lay them upon all those who hate thee. And thou shalt consume all the peoples that Lord thy God shall deliver to thee. Thine eye shall not pity them. Neither shalt thou serve their gods, for that will be a snare to thee. If thou shalt say in thy heart, These nations are more than I, how can I dispossess them? Thou shalt not be afraid of them. Thou shalt remember well what Lord thy God did to Pharaoh and to all Egypt, the great trials which thine eyes saw, and the signs, and the wonders, and the mighty hand, and the outstretched arm by which Lord thy God brought thee out. So shall Lord thy God do to all the peoples of whom thou art afraid. Moreover, Lord thy God will send the hornet among them, until those who are left and hide themselves perish from before thee. Thou shalt not be frightened at them, for Lord thy God is in the midst of thee, a great God and awesome. And Lord thy God will cast out those nations before thee, little by little. Thou may not consume them at once, lest the beasts of the field increase upon thee. But Lord thy God will deliver them up before thee, and will discomfit them with a great confusion until they be destroyed. And he will deliver their kings into thy hand, and thou shalt make their name to perish from under heaven. There shall no man be able to stand before thee until thou have destroyed them. Ye shall burn the graven images of their gods with fire. Thou shalt not covet the silver or the gold that is on them, nor take it to thee, lest thou be snared by it. For it is an abomination to Lord thy God. And thou shalt not bring an abomination into thy house, and become a devoted thing like it. Thou shalt utterly detest it, and thou shalt utterly abhor it, for it is a cursed thing. Chapter 8. All the commandment which I command thee this day ye shall observe to do, that ye may live and multiply, and go in and possess the land which Lord swore to your fathers. And thou shalt remember all the way which Lord thy God has led thee these 40 years in the wilderness, that he might humble thee, to prove thee, to know what was in thy heart, whether thou would keep his commandments or not. And he humbled thee, and allowed thee to hunger, and fed thee with manna, which thou knew not. Neither did thy fathers know, that he might make thee know, that man does not live by bread alone, but man lives by everything that proces thy raiment did not grow old upon thee, neither did thy foot swell these 40 years. And thou shalt consider in thy heart, that as a man chastens his son, so Lord thy God chastens thee. And thou shalt keep the commandments of Lord thy God, to walk in his ways, and to fear him. For Lord thy God brings thee into a good land, a land of brooks of water, of fountains and springs, flowing forth in valleys and hills, a land of wheat and barley, and vines and fig trees and pomegranates, a land of olive trees and honey, a land in which thou shalt eat bread without scarceness. Thou shalt not lack anything in it, a land whose stones are iron, and out of whose hills thou may dig copper. And thou shalt eat and be full, and thou shalt bless Lord thy God for the good land which he has given thee. Beware lest thou forget Lord thy God in not keeping his commandments and his ordinances and his statutes, which I command thee this day. Lest, when thou have eaten and are full, and have built goodly houses, and dwelt in it, and when thy herds and thy flocks multiply, and thy silver and thy gold is multiplied, and all that thou have is multiplied, then thy heart be lifted up, and thou forget Lord thy God, who brought thee forth out of the land of Egypt, out of the house of bondage, who led thee through the great and terrible wilderness, fiery serpents and scorpions, and thirsty ground where was no water, who brought thee forth water out of the rock of flint, who fed thee in the wilderness with manna which thy fathers did not know, that he might humble thee, and that he might prove thee, to do thee good at thy latter end. And lest thou say in thy heart, My power and the might of my hand has gotten me this wealth. But thou shalt remember Lord thy God, for it is he who gives thee power to get wealth, that he may establish his covenant which he swore to thy fathers, as at this day. And it shall be, if thou shalt forget Lord thy God, and walk after other gods, and serve them, and worship them, I testify against you this day, that ye shall surely perish. As the nations that Lord makes to perish before you, so shall ye perish, because ye would not hearken to the voice of Lord your God. Chapter 9. Hear, O Israel, thou art to pass over the Jordan this day, to go in to dispossess nations greater and mightier than thyself, cities great and fortified up to heaven, a people great and tall, the sons of the Anakim, whom thou know, and of whom thou have heard say, who can stand before the sons of Anak. Know therefore this day that Lord thy God is he who goes over before thee as a devouring fire. He will destroy them, and he will bring them down before thee. So thou shalt drive them out, and make them to perish quickly, as Lord Achit. Do not speak thou in thy heart, after Lord thy God has thrust them out from before thee, saying, For my righteousness, Lord, has brought me in to possess this land. Whereas for the wickedness of these nations, Lord drives them out fro. Not for thy righteousness, or for the uprightness of thy heart, do thou go in to possess their land, but for the wickedness of these nations, Lord thy God drives them out from before thee, and that he may establish the word which lo. Know therefore that Lord thy God does not give thee this good land to possess it for thy righteousness, for thou art a stiff-necked people. Remember, do not thou forget how thou provoked Lord thy God to wrath in the wilderness. From the day that thou went forth out of the land of Egypt until ye came to this place, ye have been rebellious against Lord. Also in Horeb ye provoked Lord to wrath, and Lord was angry with you to destroy you. When I was gone up unto the mount to receive the tablets of stone, even the tablets of the covenant which Lord made with you, then I abode on the mount 40 days and 40 nights. I neither ate bread nor drank water. And Lord delivered to me the 2 tablets of stone written with the finger of God, and on them was according to all the words, which Lord spoke with you in the mount out of the midst of the fire in the day of the assembly. And it came to pass at the end of 40 days and 40 nights that Lord gave me the 2 tablets of stone, even the tablets of the covenant. And Lord said to me, Arise, get thee down quickly. From here, For thy people that thou have brought forth out of Egypt have corrupted themselves. They have quickly turned aside out of the way which I commanded them. They have made it. Furthermore, Lord spoke to me, saying, I have seen this people, and behold, it is a stiff-necked people. Let me alone, that I may destroy them, and blot out their name from under heaven, and I will make of thee a nation mightier and greater than they. So I turned, and came down from the mount, and the mount was burning with fire, and the 2 tablets of the covenant were in my 2 hands. And I looked, and behold, ye had sinned against Lord your God. Ye had made you a molten calf. Ye had turned aside quickly out of the way which Lord had commanded you. And I took hold of the 2 tablets, and cast them out of my 2 hands, and broke them before your eyes. And I fell down before Lord as at the first, 40 days and 40 nights. I neither ate bread nor drank water, because of all your sin which ye sinned, in doing that which was evil in the sight of Lord, to provoke him to anger. For I was afraid of the anger and hot displeasure with which Lord was angry against you to destroy you. But Lord hearkened to me that time also. And Lord was very angry with Aaron to destroy him. And I prayed for Aaron also at the same time. And I took your sin, the calf which ye had made, and burnt it with fire, and stamped it, grinding it very small, until it was as fine as dust. And I cast the dust of it into the brook that descended out of the mount, and at Taberah, and at Massah, and at Kibroth Hattaavah. Ye provoked Lord to wrath. And when Lord sent you from Kadesh Barnea, saying, Go up and possess the land which I have given you, then ye rebelled against the commandment of Lord your God, and ye didn't believe him, nor hearken to his voice. Ye have been rebellious against Lord from the day that I knew you. So I fell down before Lord the 40 days and 40 nights that I fell down, because Lord had said he would destroy you. And I prayed to Lord, and said, O Lord, Lord, destroy not thy people and thine inheritance, that thou have redeemed through thy greatness, that thou have brought forth out of Egypt with a mighty hand. Remember thy servants, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. Look not to the stubbornness of this people, nor to their profaneness, nor to their sin, lest the land from where thou brought us out say, Because Lord was not able to bring them into the land which he promised to them, and because he hated them, he has brought them out to kill them in the wilderness. Yet they are thy people, and thine inheritance, which thou brought out by thy great power, and by thine outstretched arm. Chapter 10. At that time Lord said to me, Hew thee 2 tablets of stone like the first, and come up to me unto the mount, and make thee an ark of wood. And I will write on the tablets the words that were on the first tablets which thou broke, and thou shalt put them in the ark. So I made an ark of acacia wood, and hewed 2 tablets of stone like the first, and went up onto the mount, having the 2 tablets in my hand. And he wrote on the tablets, according to the first writing, the 10 commandments, which Lord spoke to you in the mount out of the midst of the fire in the day of the assembly, and Lord gave them to me. And I turned and came down from the mount, and put the tablets in the ark which I had made. And they are there as Lord commanded me. And the sons of Israel journeyed from Beeroth Bene-Jaakan to Mosera. There Aaron died, and there he was buried, and Eleazar his son ministered in the priest's office in his stead. From there they journeyed to Gudgodah, and from Gudgodah to Jotbatha, a land of brooks of water. At that time Lord set apart the tribe of Levi to bear the ark of the covenant of Lord, to stand before Lord to minister to him, and to bless in his name, to this day. Therefore Levi has no portion nor inheritance with his brothers. Lord is his inheritance, according as Lord thy God spoke to him. And I stayed on the mount as at the first time 40 days and 40 nights, and Lord hearkened to me that time also. Lord would not destroy thee. And Lord said to me, Arise, take thy journey before the people, and they shall go in and possess the land which I swore to their fathers to give to them. And now, Israel, what does Lord thy God require of thee? But to fear Lord thy God, to walk in all his ways, and to love him, and to serve Lord thy God with all thy heart and with all thy soul, to keep the commandments of Lord and his statutes, which I command thee this day for thy good. Behold, to Lord thy God belongs heaven and the heaven of heavens, the earth with all that is in it. Only Lord had a delight in thy fathers to love them, and he chose their seed after them, even you above all peoples, as at this day. Circumcise therefore the foreskin of your heart, and be no more stiff-necked. For Lord your God, he is God of gods, and Lord of lords, the great God, the mighty and the awesome, who regards not persons, nor takes reward. He executes justice for the fatherless and widow, and loves the sojourner in giving him food and raiment. Love ye therefore the sojourner, for ye were sojourners in the land of Egypt. Thou shalt fear Lord thy God. Him thou shalt serve, and to him thou shalt cling, and by his name thou shalt swear. He is thy praise, and he is thy God, who has done for thee these great and awesome things, which thine eyes have seen. Thy fathers went down into Egypt in soul 70, and now Lord thy God has made thee as the stars of heaven for multitude. Chapter 11. Therefore thou shalt love Lord thy God, and keep his charge, and his statutes, and his ordinances, and his commandments, always. And ye know this day, for it is not with your sons who have not known, and who have not seen the chastisement of Lord your God, his greatness, his mighty hand, and his outstretched arm, and his signs and his works, which he did in the midst of Egypt to Pharaoh the king of Egypt, and to all his land, and what he did to the army of Egypt, to their horses, and to their chariots, how he made the water of the Red Sea to overflow them as they pursued after you, and how Lord has destroyed them to this day, and what he did to you in the wilderness until ye came to this place, and what he did to Dathan and Abiram, the sons of Eliab, the son of Reuben, how the earth opened its mouth and swallowed them up, and their households and their tents and every living thing that followed them, in the midst of all. But your eyes have seen all the great work of Lord which he did. Therefore ye shall keep all the commandment which I command thee this day, that ye may be strong and go in and possess the land where ye go over to possess it, and that ye may prolong your days in the land, which Lord swore to your fathers to give to them and to their seed, a land flowing with milk and honey. For the land where thou go in to possess it is not as the land of Egypt, from where ye came out, where thou sowed thy seed and watered it with thy foot as a garden of herbs, but the land where ye go over to possess it is a land of hills and valleys, and drinks water from the rain of heaven, a land which Lord thy God cares for. The eyes of Lord thy God are always upon it, from the beginning of the year even to the end of the year. And it shall come to pass, if ye shall hearken diligently to my commandments, which I command you this day, to love Lord your God, and to serve him with all your heart and with all your soul, that I will give the rain of your land in its season, the former rain and the latter rain, that thou may gather in thy grain, and thy new wine, and thine oil. And I will give grass in thy fields for thy cattle, and thou shalt eat and be full. Take heed to yourselves, lest your heart be deceived, and ye turn aside and serve other gods, and worship them. And the anger of Lord be kindled against you, and he shut up the heavens, so that there shall be no rain, and the land shall not yield its fruit, and ye perish quickly from off the good land which Lord gives you. Therefore ye shall lay up these my words in your heart and in your soul, and ye shall bind them for a sign upon your hand, and they shall be for frontlets between your eyes. And ye shall teach them to your sons, talking of them when thou sit in thy house, and when thou walk by the way, and when thou lay down, and when thou rise up. And thou shalt write them upon the doorposts of thy house, and upon thy gates, that your days may be multiplied, and the days of your sons, in the land which Lord swore to your fathers to give them, as the days of the heavens above the earth. For if ye shall diligently keep all this commandment which I command you, to do it, to love Lord your God, to walk in all his ways, and to cling to him, Then will Lord drive out all these nations from before you, and ye shall dispossess nations greater and mightier than yourselves. Every place on which the sole of your foot shall tread shall be yours. From the wilderness and Lebanon, from the river Euphrates, even to the hinder sea shall be your border. There shall no man be able to stand before you. Lord your God shall lay the fear of you and the dread of you upon all the land that ye shall tread upon, as he has spoken to you. Behold, I set before you this day a blessing and a curse. The blessing, if ye shall hearken to the commandments of Lord your God, which I command you this day, and the curse, if ye shall not hearken to the commandments of Lord your God, but turn aside out of the way which I command you this day to go after other gods, which ye have not known. And it shall come to pass, when Lord thy God shall bring thee into the land where thou go to possess it, that thou shalt set the blessing upon Mount Gerizim, and the curse upon Mount Ebal. Are they not beyond the Jordan, behind the way of the going down of the sun, in the land of the Canaanites who dwell in the Arabah, opposite Gilgal, beside the oaks of Moreh? For ye are to pass over the Jordan to go in to possess the land which Lord your God gives you, and ye shall possess it, and dwell in it. And ye shall observe to do all the statutes and the ordinances which I set before you this day. Chapter 12. These are the statutes and the ordinances which ye shall observe to do in the land which Lord, the God of thy fathers, has given thee to possess it all the days that ye live upon the earth. Ye shall surely destroy all the places in which the nations that ye shall dispossess served their gods, upon the high mountains, and upon the hills, and under every green tree. And ye shall break down their altars, and dash in pieces their pillars, and burn their Asherim with fire. And ye shall hew down the graven images of their gods, and ye shall destroy their name out of that place. Ye shall not do so to Lord your God, but to the place which Lord your God shall choose out of all your tribes to put his name there, even to his habitation ye shall seek, and there thou shalt come. And there ye shall bring your burnt offerings and your sacrifices and your tithes, and the heave offering of your hand, and your vows and your free will offerings, and the firstlings of your herd and of your flock. And there ye shall eat before Lord your God, and ye shall rejoice in all that ye put your hand to, ye and your households, in which Lord thy God has blessed thee. Ye shall not do after all the things that we do here this day, every man whatever is right in his own eyes. For ye are not as yet come to the rest and to the inheritance which Lord thy God gives thee. But when ye go over the Jordan, and dwell in the land which Lord your God causes you to inherit, and he gives you rest from all your enemies round about, so that ye dwell in safety, then it shall come to pass that to the place which Lord your God shall choose, to cause his name to dwell there. There ye shall bring all that I command you, your burnt offerings, and your sacrifices, your tithes, and the heave-off, and ye shall rejoice before Lord your God, ye and your sons and your daughters and your men, servants and your maidservants, and the Levite who is within your gates, inasmuch as he has no portion nor inheritance with you. Take heed to thyself that thou offer not thy burnt offerings in every place that thou see, but in the place which Lord shall choose in one of thy tribes. There thou shalt offer thy burnt offerings, and there thou shalt do all that I command thee. Notwithstanding, thou may kill and eat flesh within all thy gates after all the desire of thy soul. According to the blessing of Lord thy God, which he has given thee, the unclean and the clean may eat of it, as of the gazelle, and only ye shall not eat the blood. Thou shalt pour it out upon the ground as water. Thou may not eat within thy gates the tithe of thy grain, or of thy new wine, or of thine oil, or the firstlings of thy herd or of thy flock, nor any of thy vows which thou vow, nor thy free will offerings, nor the heave offering, but thou shalt eat them before Lord thy God in the place which Lord thy God shall choose. Thou and thy son, and thy daughter, and thy manservant, and thy maidservant, and the Levite, who is within thy gates. And thou shalt rejoice Take heed to thyself that thou not forsake the Levite as long as thou live in thy land. When Lord thy God shall enlarge thy border, as he has promised thee, and thou shalt say, I will eat flesh, because thy soul desires to eat flesh, thou may eat flesh, after all the desire of thy soul. If the place which Lord thy God shall choose to put his name there be too far from thee, then thou shalt kill of thy herd and of thy flock, which Lord has given thee, as I have commanded thee, and thou may eat within thy gates, even as the gazelle and as the hart is eaten, so thou shalt eat of it. The unclean and the clean may eat of it alike. Only be sure that thou not eat the blood, for the blood is the life, and thou shalt not eat the life with the flesh. Thou shalt not eat it. Thou shalt pour it out upon the ground as water. Thou shalt not eat it, that it may go well with thee, and with thy sons after thee, when thou shalt do that which is right in the eyes of Lord. Only thy holy things which thou have, and thy vows, thou shalt take, and go to the place which Lord shall choose. And thou shalt offer thy burnt offerings, the flesh and the blood, upon the altar of Lord thy God. And the blood of thy sacrifices shall be poured out upon the altar of Lord thy God, and thou shalt eat the flesh. Observe and hear all these words which I command thee, that it may go well with thee, and with thy sons after thee forever, when thou do that which is good and right in the eyes of Lord thy God. When Lord thy God shall cut off the nations from before thee, where thou go in to dispossess them, and thou dispossess them, and dwell in their land, take heed to thyself, that thou be not ensnared to follow them after they are destroyed from before thee, and that thou to inquire after their gods, saying, How do these nations serve their gods? Even so I will do likewise. Thou shalt not do so to Lord thy God, for every abomination to Lord which he hates, they have done to their gods, for they even burn their sons and their daughters in the fire to their gods. Whatever thing I command you, that shall ye observe to do. Thou shalt not add to it, nor diminish from it. Chapter 13. If there arise in the midst of thee a prophet or a dreamer of dreams, and he gives thee a sign or a wonder, and the sign or the wonder comes to pass, of which he spoke to thee, saying, Let us go after other gods which thou have not known, and let us serve them. Thou shalt not hearken to the words of that prophet or to that dreamer of dreams. For Lord your God proves you, to know whether ye love Lord your God with all your heart and with all your soul. Ye shall walk after Lord your God, and fear him, and keep his commandments, and obey his voice, and ye shall serve him, and cling to him. And that prophet or that dreamer of dreams shall be put to death, because he has spoken rebellion against Lord your God, who brought you out of the land of Egypt, and redeemed thee out of the house of bondage, to draw thee aside if thy brother, the son of thy mother, or thy son, or thy daughter, or the wife of thy bosom, or thy friend, who is as thine own soul, entices thee secretly, saying, Let us go and serve other gods which thou have not known. Thou, of the gods of the peoples that are round about you, near to thee, or far off from thee, from the one end of the earth even to the other end of the earth, thou shalt not consent to him, nor hearken to him. Neither shall thine eye pity him, neither shalt thou spare, neither shalt thou conceal him, but thou shalt surely kill him. Thy hand shall be first upon him to put him to death, and afterwards the hand of all the people. And thou shalt stone him to death with stones, because he has sought to draw thee away from Lord thy God, who brought thee out of the land of Egypt, out of the house of bondage. And all Israel shall hear and fear, and shall no more do any such wickedness as this is in the midst of thee. If thou shalt hear tell concerning one of thy cities, which Lord thy God gives thee to dwell there, saying, Certain base fellows have gone out from the midst of thee, and have drawn away the inhabitants of their city, saying, Let us go and serve other gods which ye have not known. Then thou shalt inquire, and make search, and ask diligently. And behold, if it be true, and the thing certain, that such abomination is wrought in the midst of thee, thou shalt surely smite the inhabitants of that city with the edge of the sword, destroying it utterly and all that is in it, and the cattle in it, with the edge of the sword. And thou shalt gather all the spoil of it into the midst of the street of it, and shall burn the city with fire, and all the spoil of it every whit to Lord thy God, and it shall be a heap forever. It shall not be built again, and nothing of the devoted thing shall cling to thy hand, that Lord may turn from the fierceness of his anger. And showeth thee mercy, and have compassion upon thee, and multiply thee, as he has sworn to thy fathers, when thou shalt hearken to the voice of Lord thy God, to keep all his commandments which I command thee this day, to do that which is right in the eyes of Lord thy God. Chapter 14. Ye are the sons of Lord your God. Ye shall not cut yourselves, nor make any baldness between your eyes for the dead. For thou art a holy people to Lord thy God, and Lord has chosen thee to be a people for his own possession, above all peoples that are upon the face of the earth. Thou shalt not eat any abominable thing. These are the beasts which ye may eat: the ox, the sheep, and the goat, the hart, and the gazelle, and the roebuck, and the wild goat, and the ibex, and the antelope, and the chamois. And every beast that parts the hoof, and has the hoof cloven in two, and chews the cud among the beasts, that may ye eat. Nevertheless, of those that chew the cud, or of those that have the hoof cloven, these ye shall not eat: the camel, and the hare, and the coney, because they chew the cud, but do not part the hoof, they are unclean to you. And the swine, because he parts the hoof, but does not chew the cud, he is unclean to you. Of their flesh ye shall not eat, and their carcasses ye shall not touch. These ye may eat of all that are in the waters. Whatever has fins and scales ye may eat, and whatever does not have fins and scales ye shall not eat. It is unclean to you. Of all clean birds ye may eat, but these are those of which ye shall not eat: the eagle, and the ossifrage, and the osprey, and the gleeday, and the falcon, and the kite according to its kind, and every raven after its kind, and the ostrich, and the nighthawk, and the seagull, and the hawk according to its kind, the little owl, and the great owl, and the horned owl, and the pelican, and the vulture, and the cormorant, and the stork, and the heron according to its kind, and the hoopoe, and the bat. And all winged creeping things are unclean to you. They shall not be eaten. Of all clean birds ye may eat. Ye shall not eat of anything that dies of itself. Thou may give it to the sojourner who is within thy gates, that he may eat it, or thou may sell it to a foreigner, for thou art a holy people to Lord thy God. Thou shalt not boil. Thou shalt surely tithe all the increase of thy seed, that which comes forth from the field year by year. And thou shalt eat before Lord thy God in the place which he shall choose to cause his name to dwell there, the tithe of thy grain, of thy new wine, and of thine oil, and the firstlings of thy herd, and of thy flock, that thou may. And if the way is too long for thee, so that thou art not able to carry it, because the place is too far from thee, which Lord thy God shall choose to set his name there, when Lord thy God shall bless thee, then thou shalt turn it into money, and bind up the money in thy hand, and shall go to the place which Lord thy God shall choose. And thou shalt bestow the money for whatever thy soul desires, for oxen, or for sheep, or for wine, or for strong drink, or for whatever thy soul asks of thee. And thou shalt eat there before Lord thy God, and thou shalt rejoice, and the Levite who is within thy gates. Thou shalt not forsake him, for he has no portion nor inheritance with thee. At the end of every 3 years thou shalt bring forth all the tithe of thine increase in the same year, and shall lay it up within thy gates. And the Levite, because he has no portion nor inheritance with thee, and the sojourner, and the fatherless, and the widow who are within thy gates, shall come, and shall eat and be satisfied, that Lord thy God may bless thee in all tea. Chapter 15. At the end of every 7 years thou shalt make a release, and this is the manner of the release. Every creditor shall release that which he has lent to his neighbor. He shall not exact it from his neighbor and his brother, because Lord's release has been proclaimed. From a foreigner thou may exact it. But whatever of thine is with thy brother, thy hand shall release. However, there shall be no poor with thee. For Lord will surely bless thee in the land which Lord thy God gives thee for an inheritance to possess it. If only thou diligently hearken to the voice of Lord thy God, to observe to do all this commandment which I command thee this day. For Lord thy God will bless thee as he promised thee. And thou shalt lend to many nations, but thou shalt not borrow. And thou shalt rule over many nations, but they shall not rule over thee. If there be with thee a poor man, one of thy brothers, within any of thy gates in thy land which Lord thy God gives thee, thou shalt not harden thy heart, nor shut thy hand from thy poor brother, but thou shalt surely open thy hand to him, and shalt surely lend him sufficient for his need which he wants. Beware that there not be a base thought in thy heart, saying, The 7th year, the year of release, is at hand. And thine eye be evil against thy poor brother, and thou give him nothing, and he cry to Lord against thee, and it be thou shalt surely give him, and thy heart shall not be grieved when thou give to him. Because for this thing Lord thy God will bless thee in all thy work, and in all that thou put thy hand to. For the poor will never cease out of the land. Therefore I command thee, saying, Thou shalt surely open thy hand to thy brother, to thy needy, and to thy poor in thy land. If thy brother, a Hebrew man or a Hebrew woman, is sold to thee and serves thee 6 years, then in the 7th year thou shalt let him go free from thee. And when thou let him go free from thee, thou shalt not let him go empty. Thou shalt furnish him liberally out of thy flock, and out of thy threshing floor, and out of thy winepress. As Lord thy God has blessed thee, thou shalt give to him. And thou shalt remember that thou wert a bondman in the land of Egypt, and Lord thy God redeemed thee. Therefore I command thee this thing today. And it shall be, if he says to thee, I will not go out from thee, because he loves thee and thy house, because he is well with thee, then thou shalt take an awl, and thrust it through his ear to the door, and he shall be thy servant forever. And also to thy maidservant thou shalt do likewise. It shall not seem hard to thee when thou let him go free from thee, for he has been worth a double hired servant to thee in serving thee 6 years. And Lord thy God will bless thee in all that thou do. All the firstling males that are born of thy herd and of thy flock thou shalt sanctify to Lord thy God. Thou shalt do no work with the firstling of thy herd, nor shear the firstling of thy flock. Thou shalt eat it before Lord thy God year by year in the place which Lord shall choose, thou and thy household. And if it has any blemish, as lame or blind, any ill blemish whatever, thou shalt not sacrifice it to Lord thy God. Thou shalt eat it within thy gates, the unclean man and the clean man alike, as the gazelle and as the hart. Only thou shalt not eat the blood of it. Thou shalt pour it out upon the ground as water. Chapter 16. Observe the month of Abib, and keep the Passover to Lord thy God. For in the month of Abib Lord thy God brought thee forth out of Egypt by night. And thou shalt sacrifice the Passover to Lord thy God, of the flock and the herd, in the place which Lord shall choose to cause his name to dwell there. Thou shalt eat no leavened bread with it. 7 days thou shalt eat unleavened bread with it, even the bread of affliction, for thou came forth out of the land of Egypt in haste, that thou may remember the day when thou came forth. And there shall be no leaven seen with thee in all thy borders 7 days. Neither shall any of the flesh, which thou sacrifice the first day at evening, remain all night until the morning. Thou may not sacrifice the Passover within any of thy gates, which Lord thy God gives thee, but at the place which Lord thy God shall choose to cause his name to dwell in, there thou shalt sacrifice the Passover at evening, at the going down of the sun, at the season that thou came forth out of Egypt. And thou shalt roast and eat it in the place which Lord thy God shall choose, and thou shalt turn in the morning and go to thy tents. 6 days thou shalt eat unleavened bread. And on the 7th day shall be a solemn assembly to Lord thy God. Thou shalt do no work. Thou shalt number to thee 7 weeks. From the time thou begin to put the sickle to the standing grain, thou shalt begin to number 7 weeks. And thou shalt keep the feast of weeks to Lord thy God with a tribute of a freewill offering from thy hand, which thou shalt give according as Lord thy God blesses thee. And thou shalt rejoice before Lord thy God, thou and thy son, and thy daughter, and thy manservant, and thy maidservant, and the Levite who is within thy gates, and the sojourner, and the fatherless, and the widow, who are in none. Thou shalt remember that thou were a bondman in Egypt, and thou shalt observe and do these statutes. Thou shalt keep the Feast of Tabernacles 7 days after thou have gathered in from thy threshing floor and from thy winepress. And thou shalt rejoice in thy feast, thou and thy son and thy daughter and thy manservant and thy maidservant, and the Levite, and the sojourner, and the fatherless, and the widow, who are within thy gates. 7 days thou shalt keep a feast to Lord thy God in the place which Lord shall choose, because Lord thy God will bless thee in all thine increase and in all the work of thy hands, and thou shalt be altogether joyful. 3 times in a year all thy males shall appear before Lord thy God in the place which he shall choose, in the feast of unleavened bread, and in the feast of weeks, and in the feast of tabernacles. And they shall not appear before every man shall give as he is able, according to the blessing of Lord thy God which he has given thee. Thou shalt make judges and officers for thee in all thy gates, which Lord thy God gives thee according to thy tribes, and they shall judge the people with righteous judgment. Thou shalt not distort justice. Thou shalt not respect persons, neither shalt thou take a bribe, for a bribe blinds the eyes of the wise and perverts the words of the righteous. Thou shalt follow that which is altogether just, that thou may live, and inherit the land which Lord thy God gives thee. Thou shalt not plant for thee an Asherah of any kind of tree beside the altar of Lord thy God, which thou shalt make for thee. Neither shalt thou set up a pillar for thee, which Lord thy God hates. Chapter 17. Thou shalt not sacrifice to Lord thy God an ox or a sheep in which is a blemish or anything bad, for that is an abomination to Lord thy God. If there be found in the midst of thee, within any of thy gates which Lord thy God gives thee, man or woman, who does that which is evil in the sight of Lord thy God in transgressing his covenant, and has gone and served other gods and worshipped them, or the sun or the moon, or any of the host of heaven, which I have not commanded, and it be told thee, and thou have heard of it, then shalt thou inquire diligently. And behold, if it be true and the thing certain that such abomination is wrought in Israel, then thou shalt bring forth that man or that woman who has done this evil thing to thy gates, even the man or the woman, and thou shalt stone them to death with stones. At the mouth of 2 witnesses or 3 witnesses shall he who is to die be put to death. He shall not be put to death at the mouth of 1 witness. The hand of the witnesses shall be first upon him to put him to death, and afterward the hand of all the people. So thou shalt put away the evil from the midst of thee. If there arise a matter too hard for thee in judgment, between blood and blood, between plea and plea, and between stroke and stroke, being matters of controversy within thy gates, then thou shalt arise and get thee up to the place, and thou shalt come to the priests the Levites, and to the judge who shall be in those days, and thou shalt inquire, and they shall show thee the sentence of judgment. And thou shalt do according to the tenor of the sentence which they shall show thee from that place which Lord shall choose. And thou shalt observe to do according to all that they shall teach thee, according to the tenor of the law which they shall teach thee, and according to the judgment which they shall tell thee, thou shalt do. Thou shalt not turn aside from the sentence which they shall show thee to the right hand, nor, and the man who does presumptuously in not hearkening to the priest who stands to minister there before Lord thy God, or to the judge even that man shall die, and thou shalt put away the evil from Israel. And all the people shall hear and fear, and do no more presumptuously. When thou have come to the land which Lord thy God gives thee, and shall possess it, and shall dwell in it, and shall say, I will set a king over me like all the nations that are round about me, thou shalt surely set him king over thee, whom Lord thy God shall choose. Thou shalt set a king over thee from among thy brothers. Thou may not put a foreigner over thee who is not thy brother. Only he shall not multiply horses to himself, nor cause the people to return to Egypt, to the end that he may multiply horses, inasmuch as Lord has said to you, Ye shall henceforth return no more that way. Neither shall he multiply wives to himself, that his heart turn not away. Neither shall he greatly multiply to himself silver and gold. And it shall be, when he sits upon the throne of his kingdom, that he shall write for him a copy of this law in a book out of it before the priests the Levites, and it shall be with him. And he shall read in it all the days of his life, that he may learn to fear Lord his God, to keep all the words of this law and these statutes, to do them, that his heart not be lifted up above his brothers, and that he turn not aside from the commandment to the right hand or to the left, to the end that he may prolong his days in his kingdom, he and his sons in the midst of Israel. Chapter 18. The priests the Levites, even all the tribe of Levi, shall have no portion nor inheritance with Israel. They shall eat the offerings of Lord made by fire, and his inheritance, and they shall have no inheritance among their brothers. Lord is their inheritance, as he has spoken to them. And this shall be the priest's due from the people, from those who offer a sacrifice, whether it be ox or sheep, that they shall give to the priest the shoulder and the 2 cheeks, and the maw, the first fruits of thy grain, of thy new wine, and of thine oil, and the first of the fleece of thy sheep, thou shalt give him. For Lord thy God has chosen him out of all thy tribes to stand to minister in the name of Lord, him and his sons forever. And if a Levite comes from any of thy gates out of all Israel where he sojourns, and comes with all the desire of his soul to the place which Lord shall choose, then he shall minister in the name of Lord his God, as all his brothers the Levites do who stand there before Lord. They shall have like portions to eat, besides that which comes of the sale of his patrimony. When thou have come into the land which Lord thy God gives thee, thou shalt not learn to do according to the abominations of those nations. There shall not be found with thee anyone who makes his son or his daughter to pass through the fire, a psychic, he who practices augury, or an enchanter, or a sorcerer, or a charmer, or a medium, or a spiritist, or a necromancer. For whoever does these things is an abomination to Lord, and because of these abominations, Lord thy God drives them out from before thee. Thou shalt be perfect with Lord thy God. For these nations that thou shalt dispossess hearken to those who practice augury and to psychics. But as for thee, Lord thy God has not allowed thee to do so. Lord thy God will raise up for thee a prophet from the midst of thee, of thy brothers like me. Ye shall hearken to him according to all that thou desired of Lord thy God in Horeb in the day of the assembly, saying, Let me not hear again the voice of Lord my God, neither let me see this great fire any more, that I not die. And Lord said to me, They have well said that which they have spoken. I will raise up a prophet for them from among their brothers, like thee. And I will put my words in his mouth, and he shall speak to them all that I shall command him. And it shall come to pass, that whoever will not hearken to my words which he shall speak in my name, I will require it of him. But the prophet who shall speak a word presumptuously in my name, which I have not commanded him to speak, or who shall speak in the name of other gods, that same prophet shall die. And if thou say in thy heart, How shall we know the word which Lord has not spoken? When a prophet speaks in the name of Lord, if the thing does not follow nor come to pass, that is the thing which Lord has not spoken. The prophet has spoken it presumptuously. Thou shalt not be afraid of him. Chapter 19. When Lord thy God shall cut off the nations whose land Lord thy God gives thee, and thou succeed them, and dwell in their cities, and in their houses, thou shalt set apart 3 cities for thee in the midst of thy land, which Lord thy God gives thee to possess it. Thou shalt prepare for thee the way, and divide the borders of thy land, which Lord thy God causes thee to inherit, into 3 parts, that every manslayer may flee there. And this is the case of the manslayer, who shall flee there and live. Whoever kills his neighbor unawares, and did not hate him in time past, as when a man goes into the forest with his neighbor to hew wood, and his hand fetches a stroke with the axe to cut down the tree, and the head slips from the helve, and lands upon his neighbor, so that he dies, he shall flee too, unless the avenger of blood pursue the manslayer, while his heart is hot, and overtake him, because the way is long, and smite him mortally, whereas he was not worthy of death, inasmuch as he did not hate him in time past. Therefore I command thee, saying, Thou shalt set apart 3 cities for thee. And if Lord thy God enlarge thy border, as he has sworn to thy fathers, and give thee all the land which he promised to give to thy fathers, if thou shalt keep all this commandment to do it, which I command thee this day, to love Lord thy God, and to walk ever in his ways, then shalt thou add 3 more cities for thee, besides these 3, that innocent blood not be shed in the midst of thy land, which Lord thy God gives thee for an inheritance, and so blood be upon thee. But if any man hates his neighbor, and lies in wait for him, and rises up against him, and smites him mortally, so that he dies, and he flees into one of these cities, then the elders of his city shall send and fetch him from there, and deliver him into the hand of the avenger of blood, that he may die. Thine eye shall not pity him, but thou shalt put away the innocent blood from Israel, that it may go well with thee. Thou shalt not remove thy neighbor's landmark, which they of old time have set, in thine inheritance which thou shalt inherit in the land that Lord thy God gives thee to possess it. One witness shall not rise up against a man for any iniquity, or for any sin, in any sin that he sins. At the mouth of 2 witnesses, or at the mouth of 3 witnesses, shall a matter be established. If an unrighteous witness rises up against any man to testify against him of wrongdoing, then both the men, between whom the controversy is, shall stand before the priests and the judges that shall be in those days, and the judges shall make diligent inquiry. And behold, if the witness is a false witness, and has testified falsely against his brother, then ye shall do to him as he had thought to do to his brother. So shalt thou put away the evil from the midst of thee, and those who remain shall hear and fear, and shall henceforth commit no more any such evil in the midst of thee. And thine eyes shall not pity, life for life, eye for eye, tooth for tooth, hand for hand, foot for foot. Chapter 20. When thou go forth to battle against thine enemies, and see horses and chariots, and a people more than thou shalt not be afraid of them, for Lord thy God is with thee, who brought thee up out of the land of Egypt. And it shall be, when ye draw near to the battle, that the priest shall approach and speak to the people, and shall say to them, Hear, O Israel, ye draw near this day to battle against your enemies. Let not your heart faint, fear not, nor tremble, neither be ye frightened at them, for Lord your God is he who goes with you to fight for you against your enemies, to save you. And the officers shall speak to the people, saying, What man is there who has built a new house, and has not dedicated it? Let him go and return to his house, lest he die in the battle, and another man dedicate it. And what man is there who has planted a vineyard, and has not used the fruit of it? Let him go and return to his house, lest he die in the battle, and another man use the fruit of it. And what man is there who has betrothed a wife, and has not taken her? Let him go and return to his house, lest he die in the battle, and another man take her. And the officers shall speak further to the people, and they shall say, What man is there who is fearful and faint-hearted? Let him go and return to his house, lest his brother's heart melt as his heart. And it shall be, when the officers have made an end of speaking to the people, that they shall appoint captains of armies at the head of the people. When thou draw near to a city to fight against it, then proclaim peace to it. And it shall be, if it makes to thee an answer of peace and opens to thee, then it shall be that all the people that are found in it shall become tributary to thee, and shall serve thee. And if it will make no peace with thee, but will make war against thee, then thou shalt besiege it. And when Lord thy God delivers it into thy hand, thou shalt smite every male of it with the edge of the sword, but the women and the little ones, and the cattle, and all that is in the city, even all the spoil of it, thou shalt take for a prey to thyself. And thou shalt eat the spoil of thine enemies, which Lord thy God has given thee. Thus thou shalt do to all the cities which are very far off from thee, which are not of the cities of these nations, but of the cities of these peoples, that Lord thy God gives thee for an inheritance. Thou shalt save alive nothing that breathes, but thou shalt utterly destroy them: the Hittite, and the Amorite, the Canaanite, and the Perizzite, the Hivite, and the Jebusite, as Lord thy God has commanded thee, that they not teach you to do after all their abominations which they have done to their gods, so ye would sin against Lord your God. When thou shalt besiege a city a long time in making war against it to take it, thou shalt not destroy the trees of it by wielding an axe against them, for thou may eat of them. And thou shalt not cut them down, for is the tree of only the trees of which thou know that they are not trees for food, thou shalt destroy and cut them down. And thou shalt build bulwarks against the city that makes war with thee, until it falls. Chapter 21. If a man is found slain in the land which Lord thy God gives thee to possess it, lying in the field, and it not be known who has smitten him, then thy elders and thy judges shall come forth, and they shall measure to the cities which are round about him who is slain. And it shall be that the city which is nearest to the slain man, even the elders of that city, shall take a heifer of the herd which has not been worked with and which has not drawn in the yoke. And the elders of that city shall bring down the heifer to a valley with running water, which is neither plowed nor sown, and shall break the heifer's neck there in the valley. And the priests, the sons of Levi, shall come near, for Lord thy God has chosen them to minister to him, and to bless in the name of Lord, and according to their word shall every controversy and every stroke be. And all the elders of that city who are nearest to the slain man shall wash their hands over the heifer whose neck was broken in the valley. And they shall answer and say, Our hands have not shed this blood, neither have our eyes seen it. Forgive, O Lord, thy people Israel, whom thou have redeemed, and allow no innocent blood to remain in the midst of thy people Israel. And the blood shall be forgiven them. So shalt thou put away the innocent blood from the midst of thee, when thou shalt do that which is right in the eyes of Lord, when thou go forth to battle against thine enemies, and Lord thy God delivers them into thy hands, and thou carry them away captive, and see among the captives a beautiful woman, and thou have a desire for her, and would take her to thee to wife, then thou shalt bring her home to thy house. And she shall shave her head, and pare her nails, and she shall put the raiment of her captivity from off her, and shall remain in thy house, and bewail her father and her mother a full month. And after that thou shalt go in to her, and be her husband, and she shall be thy wife. And it shall be, if thou have no delight in her, then thou shalt let her go where she will, but thou shalt not sell her at all for money. Thou shalt not deal with her as a slave, because thou have humbled her. If a man has 2 wives, the one beloved and the other regarded inferior, and they have borne him sons, both the beloved and the one regarded inferior, and if the firstborn son be hers who was regarded inferior, then it shall be, in the day that he causes his sons to inherit that which he has, that he may not make the son of the beloved the firstborn, before the son of the one regarded inferior, who is the firstborn. But he shall acknowledge the firstborn, the son of the one regarded inferior, by giving him a double portion of all that he has, for he is the beginning of his strength. The right of the firstborn is his. If a man has a stubborn and rebellious son who will not obey the voice of his father or the voice of his mother, and, though they chasten him, will not hearken to them. Then his father and his mother shall lay hold on him and bring him out to the elders of his city and to the gate of his place. And they shall say to the elders of his city, This our son is stubborn and rebellious. He will not obey our voice. He is a glutton and a drunkard. And all the men of his city shall stone him to death with stones. So thou shalt put away the evil from the midst of thee, and all Israel shall hear and fear. And if a man has committed a sin worthy of death, and he be put to death, and thou hang him on a tree, his body shall not remain all night upon the tree, but thou shalt surely bury him the same day. For he who is hanged is accursed of God, that thou not defile thy land, which Lord thy God gives thee for an inheritance. Chapter 22. Thou shalt not see thy brother's ox or his sheep go astray, and hide thyself from them. Thou shalt surely bring them again to thy brother. And if thy brother be not near to thee, or if thou do not know him, then thou shalt bring it home to thy house, and it shall be with thee until thy brother seeks after it, and thou shalt restore it to him. And so shalt thou do with his donkey, and so shalt thou do with his garment, and so shalt thou do with every lost thing of thy brother's which he has lost, and thou have found. Thou may not hide thyself. Thou shalt not see thy brother's donkey or his ox fallen down by the way, and hide thyself from them. Thou shalt surely help him to lift them up again. A woman shall not wear that which pertains to a man, neither shall a man put on a woman's garment. For whoever does these things is an abomination to Lord thy God. If a bird's nest chance to be before thee in the way in any tree, or on the ground, with young ones or eggs, and the dam sitting upon the young or upon the eggs, thou shalt not take the dam with the young. Thou shalt surely let the dam go, but the young thou may take to thyself, that it may be well with thee, and that thou may prolong thy days. When thou build a new house, then thou shalt make a guard rail for thy roof, that thou not bring blood upon thy house, if any man falls from there. Thou shalt not sow thy vineyard with two kinds of seed, lest the whole fruit be forfeited, the seed which thou have sown, and the increase of the vineyard. Thou shalt not plow with an ox and a donkey together. Thou shalt not wear a mingled stuff, wool and linen together. Thou shalt make for thee fringes upon the four borders of thy clothing, with which thou cover thyself. If any man takes a wife and goes in to her and dislikes her and charges her with shameful things and brings up an evil name upon her and says, I took this woman, and when I came near to her, I did not find in her the tokens of virginity, then the father of the damsel and her mother shall take and bring forth the tokens of the damsel's virginity to the elders of the city in the gate. And the damsel's father shall say to the elders, I gave my daughter to this man to wife, and he dislikes her. And lo, he has charged her with shameful things, saying, I did not find in thy daughter the tokens of virginity, and yet these are the tokens of my daughter's virginity. And they shall spread the garment before the elders of the sea. And the elders of that city shall take the man and chastise him, and they shall fine him 100 shekels of silver, and give them to the father of the damsel, because he has brought up an evil name upon a virgin of Israel, and she shall be his wife. He may not put her away all his days. But if this thing be true, that the tokens of virginity were not found in the damsel, then they shall bring the damsel out to the door of her father's house, and the men of her city shall stone her to death with stones, because she has wrought folly in Israel, to play the harlot in her father's house. So shall thou, if a man be found laying with a woman married to a husband, then they shall both of them die, the man that lay with the woman, and the woman. So shalt thou put away the evil from Israel. If there be a damsel who is a virgin betrothed to a husband, and a man finds her in the city and lays with her, then ye shall bring them both out to the gate of that city. And ye shall stone them to death with stones, the damsel, because she did not cry out, being in the city, and the man, because he has humbled his neighbor's wife. So thou, But if the man finds the damsel who is betrothed in the field, and the man forces her and lays with her, then only the man who lay with her shall die. But to the damsel thou shalt do nothing. There is in the damsel no sin worthy of death. For as when a man rises against his neighbor and kills him, even so is this matter, for he found her in the field. The betrothed damsel cried out, and there was none to save her. If a man finds a damsel who is a virgin, who is not betrothed, and lays hold on her, and lays with her, and they be found, then the man who lay with her shall give to the damsel's father 50 shekels of silver, and she shall be his wife, because he has humbled her. He may not put her away all his days. A man shall not take his father's wife, and shall not uncover his father's skirt. Chapter 23. He who is wounded in the testicles, or has his private part cut off, shall not enter into the assembly of Lord. A bastard shall not enter into the assembly of Lord, even to the 10th generation none of his shall enter into the assembly of Lord. An Ammonite or a Moabite shall not enter into the assembly of Lord. Even to the 10th generation none belonging to them shall enter into the assembly of Lord forever, because they met you not with bread and with water on the way, when ye came forth out of Egypt, and because they hired against thee Balaam the son of Beor from Pethor of Mesopotamia, to curse thee. Nevertheless, Lord thy God would not hearken to Balaam, but Lord thy God turned the curse into a blessing to thee, because Lord thy God loved thee. Thou shalt not seek their peace nor their prosperity all thy days forever. Thou shalt not abhor an Edomite, for he is thy brother. Thou shalt not abhor an Egyptian, because thou wert a sojourner in his land. The sons of the 3rd generation who are born to them shall enter into the assembly of Lord. When the army goes forth against thine enemies, then thou shalt keep thee from every evil thing. If there be among you any man who is not clean by reason of an accident by night, then he shall go abroad out of the camp. He shall not come inside the camp. But it shall be, when evening comes on, he shall bathe himself in water, and when the sun is down, he shall come inside the camp. Thou shalt have a place also outside the camp, where thou shalt go forth abroad, and thou shalt have a paddle among thy weapons. And it shall be, when thou sit down abroad, thou shalt dig with it, and shall turn back and cover that which comes from thee. For Lord thy God walks in the midst of thy camp to deliver thee, and to give up thine enemies before thee. Therefore thy camp shall be holy, that he may not see an unclean thing in thee, and turn away from thee. Thou shalt not deliver to his master a servant who is escaped from his master to thee. He shall dwell with thee in the midst of thee, in the place which he shall choose within one of thy gates, where it pleases him best. Thou shalt not oppress him. There shall be no prostitute of the daughters of Israel, neither shall there be a sodomite of the sons of Israel. Thou shalt not bring the hire of a harlot or the wages of a dog into the house of Lord thy God for any vow, for even both these are an abomination to Lord thy God. Thou shalt not lend upon interest to thy brother, interest of money, interest of food, interest of anything that is lent upon interest. To a foreigner thou may lend upon interest, but to thy brother thou shalt not lend upon interest, that Lord thy God may bless thee in all that thou put thy hand to, in the land where thou go in to possess it. When thou shalt vow a vow to Lord thy God, thou shalt not be slack to pay it. For Lord thy God will surely require it of thee, and it would be sin in thee. But if thou shalt forbear to vow, it shall be no sin in thee. That which is gone out of thy lips thou shalt observe and do, according as thou hast vowed to Lord thy God, a free will offering, which thou hast promised with thy mouth. When thou come into thy neighbor's vineyard, then thou may eat thy fill of grapes at thine own pleasure, but thou shalt not put any in thy vessel. When thou come into thy neighbor's standing grain, then thou may pluck the ears with thy hand, but thou shalt not move a sickle to thy neighbor's standing grain. Chapter 24. When a man takes a wife and marries her, then it shall be, if she finds no favor in his eyes, because he has found some unseemly thing in her, that he shall write her a bill of divorcement, and give it in her hand, and send her out. And when she has departed out of his house, she may go and be another man's. And if the latter husband dislikes her, and writes her a bill of divorcement, and gives it in her hand, and sends her out of his house, or if the latter husband dies, who took her to be his wife, her former husband, who sent her away, may not take her again to be his wife after she is defiled. For that is abomination before Lord, and thou shalt not cause the land to sin, which Lord thy God gives thee for an inheritance. When a man takes a new wife, he shall not go out in the army, neither shall he be charged with any business. He shall be free at home 1 year, and shall cheer his wife whom he has taken. No man shall take the mill or the upper millstone to pledge, for he takes life to pledge. If a man is found stealing any of his brothers of the sons of Israel, and he deals with him as a slave or sells him, then that thief shall die. So shall thou put away the evil from the midst of thee. Take heed in the disease of leprosy, that thou observe diligently, and do according to all that the priests the Levites shall teach you. As I commanded them, so ye shall observe to do. Remember what Lord thy God did to Miriam by the way as ye came forth out of Egypt. When thou do lend thy neighbor any manner of loan, thou shalt not go into his house to fetch his pledge. Thou shalt stand outside, and the man to whom thou lend shall bring forth the pledge outside to thee. And if he is a poor man, thou shalt not sleep with his pledge. Thou shalt surely restore to him the pledge when the sun goes down, that he may sleep in his garment and bless thee. And it shall be righteousness to thee before Lord thy God. Thou shalt not oppress a hired servant who is poor and needy, whether he be of thy brothers, or of thy sojourners that are in thy land within thy gates. Thou shalt give him his hire in his day. Neither shall the sun go down upon it, for he is poor and sets his heart upon it, lest he cry against thee to Lord, and it be sin to thee. The fathers shall not be put to death for the sons, neither shall the sons be put to death for the fathers. Every man shall be put to death for his own sin. Thou shalt not distort the justice due to the sojourner or to the fatherless, nor take the widow's raiment to pledge. But thou shalt remember that thou wert a bondman in Egypt, and Lord thy God redeemed thee from there. Therefore I command thee to do this thing. When thou reap thy harvest in thy field, and have forgotten a sheaf in the field, thou shalt not go again to fetch it. It shall be for the sojourner, for the fatherless, and for the widow, that Lord thy God may bless thee in all that when thou beat thine olive tree, thou shalt not go over the boughs again. It shall be for the sojourner, for the fatherless, and for the widow. When thou gather of thy vineyard, thou shalt not glean it behind thee. It shall be for the sojourner, for the fatherless, and for the widow. And thou shalt remember that thou wert a bondman in the land of Egypt. Therefore I command thee to do this thing. Chapter 25. If there be a controversy between men, and they come to judgment, and they judge them, then they shall justify the righteous and condemn the iniquitous. And it shall be, if the iniquitous man is deserving to be beaten, that the judge shall cause him to lay down, and to be beaten before his face, according to his iniquity, by number. He may give him 40 stripes. He shall not exceed, lest if he should exceed, and beat him above these with many stripes, then thy brother should seem debased to thee. Thou shalt not muzzle the ox when he treads out the grain. If brothers dwell together, and one of them dies and has no son, the wife of the dead man shall not be married outside to a stranger. Her husband's brother shall go into her, and take her to him to wife, and perform the duty of and it shall be that the firstborn who she bears shall succeed in the name of his brother who is dead, that his name be not blotted out of Israel. And if the man does not want to take his brother's wife, then his brother's wife shall go up to the gate to the elders, and say, My husband's brother refuses to raise up to his brother a name in Israel. He will not perform the duty. Then the elders of his city shall call him and speak to him, and if he stands and says, I do not want to take her, then his brother's wife shall come to him in the presence of the elders, and loose his shoe from off his foot, and spit in his face. And she shall answer and say, so shall it be done to the man who does not build up his brother's Iach, and his name shall be called in Israel the house of him who has his shoe loosed. When men strive together one with another, and the wife of the one draws near to deliver her husband out of the hand of him who smites him, and puts forth her hand, and takes him by the privates, then thou shalt cut off her hand. Thine eye shall have no pity. Thou shalt not have in thy bag diverse weights, a great and a small. Thou shalt not have in thy house diverse measures, a great and a small. A perfect and just weight thou shalt have, a perfect and just measure thou shalt have, that thy days may be long in the land which Lord thy God gives thee. For all who do such things, even all who do unrighteously, are an abomination to Lord thy God. Remember what Amalek did to thee by the way as ye came forth out of Egypt, how he met thee by the way and smote the hindmost of thee, all who were feeble behind thee, when thou wert faint and weary, and he feared not God. Therefore it shall be, when Lord thy God has given thee rest from all thine enemies round about, in the land which Lord thy God gives thee for an inheritance to possess it, that thou shalt blot out the remembrance of Amalek from on Itapuros. Chapter 26. And it shall be, when thou have come into the land which Lord thy God gives thee for an inheritance, and possess it, and dwell in it, that thou shalt take of the first of all the fruit of the ground, which thou shalt bring in from thy land that Lord thy God gives thee. And thou shalt put it in a basket, and shalt go to the place which Lord thy God shall choose to. And thou shalt come to the priest who shall be in those days, and say to him, I profess this day to Lord thy God, that I have come to the land which Lord swore to our fathers to give us. And the priest shall take the basket out of thy hand, and set it down before the altar of Lord thy God. And thou shalt answer and say, Before Lord thy God, my father was a Syrian, ready to perish. And he went down into Egypt, and sojourned there, few in number. And he became there a nation, great, mighty, and populous. And the Egyptians dealt ill with us, and afflicted us, and laid upon us hard bondage. And we cried to Lord, the God of our fathers. And Lord heard our voice, and saw our affliction, and our toil, and our oppression. And Lord brought us forth out of Egypt with a mighty hand, and with an outstretched arm, and with great terribleness, and with signs, and with wonders. And he has brought us into this place, and has given us this land, a land flowing with milk and honey. And now, behold, I have brought the first of the fruit of the ground, which thou, O Lord, have given me. And thou shalt set it down before Lord thy God, and worship before Lord thy God. And thou shalt rejoice in all the good which Lord thy God has given to thee, and to thy house, thou, and the Levite, and the sojourner who is in the midst of thee. When thou have made an end of tithing all the tithe of thine increase in the 3rd year, which is the year of tithing, then thou shalt give it to the Levite, to the sojourner, to the fatherless, and to the widow, that they may eat. And thou shalt say before Lord thy God, I have put away the hallowed things out of my house, and also have given them to the Levite, and to the sojourner, to the fatherless, and to the widow, according to all thy commandment, which I have not eaten of it in my mourning. Neither have I put away from it, being unclean, nor given of it for the dead. I have hearkened to the voice of Lord my God. I have done according to all that thou have commanded me. Look down from thy holy habitation, from heaven, and bless thy people Israel, and the ground which thou have given us, as thou swore to our fathers, a land flowing with milk and honey. This day Lord thy God commands thee to do these statutes and ordinances. Thou shalt therefore keep and do them with all thy heart and with all thy soul. Thou have avouched Lord this day to be thy God, and that thou would walk in his ways, and keep his statutes and his commandments and his ordinances, and hearken to his voice. And Lord has avouched thee this day to be a people for his own possession, as he has promised thee, and that thou should keep all his commandments, and to make thee high above all nations that he has made, in praise, and in name, and in honor, and that thou may be a holy people to Lord thy God, as he has spoken. Chapter 27. And Moses and the elders of Israel commanded the people, saying, Keep all the commandment which I command you this day. And it shall be on the day when ye shall pass over the Jordan to the land which Lord thy God gives thee, that thou shalt set up for thee great stones, and plaster them with plaster. And thou shalt write upon them all the words of this law when thou have passed over, that thou may go into the land which Lord thy God gives thee, a land flowing with milk and honey, as Lord the God of thy fathers has promised. And it shall be, when ye have passed over the Jordan, that ye shall set up these stones, which I command you this day, in Mount Ebal, and thou shalt plaster them with plaster. And there thou shalt build an altar to Lord thy God, an altar of stones. Thou shalt lift up no iron upon them. Thou shalt build the altar of Lord thy God of unhewn stones, and thou shalt offer burnt offerings on it to Lord thy God. And thou shalt sacrifice peace offerings, and shalt eat there, and thou shalt rejoice before Lord thy God. And thou shalt write upon the stones all the words of this law very plainly. And Moses and the priests the Levites spoke to all Israel, saying, Keep silence, and hearken, O Israel. This day thou have become the people of Lord thy God. Thou shalt therefore obey the voice of Lord thy God, and do his commandments and his statutes, which I command thee this day. And Moses charged the people the same day, saying, These shall stand upon Mount Gerizim to bless the people, when ye have passed over the Jordan, Simeon and Levi and Judah and Issachar and Joseph and Benjamin. And these shall stand upon Mount Ebal for the curse, Reuben, Gad, and Asher, and Zebulun, Dan, and Naphtali. And the Levites shall answer, and say to all the men of Israel with a loud voice, Cursed be the man who makes a graven or molten image, an abomination to Lord, the work of the hands of the craftsman, and sets it up in secret. And all the people shall answer and say, Amen. Cursed be he who dishonors his father or his mother. And all the people shall say, Amen. Cursed be he who removes his neighbor's landmark. And all the people shall say, Amen. Cursed be he who makes the blind to wander out of the way. And all the people shall say, Amen. Cursed be he who distorts the justice to the sojourner, fatherless, and widow. And all the people shall say, Amen. Cursed be he who lays with his father's wife, because he has uncovered his father's skirt. And all the people shall say, Amen. Cursed be he who lays with any manner of beast. And all the people shall say, Amen. Cursed be he who lays with his sister, the daughter of his father, or the daughter of his mother. And all the people shall say, Amen. Cursed be he who lays with his mother-in-law. And all the people shall say, Amen. Cursed be he who smites his neighbor in secret. And all the people shall say, Amen. Cursed be he who takes a bribe to kill an innocent man. And all the people shall say, Amen. Cursed is every man who does not continue in all 70 New Testament the words of this law to do them. And all the people shall say, Amen. Chapter 28. And it shall come to pass, if thou shalt hearken diligently to the voice of Lord thy God, to observe to do all his commandments which I command thee this day, that Lord thy God will set thee on high above all the nations of the earth, and all these blessings shall come upon thee, and overtake thee, if thou shalt hearken to the voice of Lord thy God. Blessed shall thou be in the city, and blessed shall thou be in the field. Blessed shall be the fruit of thy body, and the fruit of thy ground, and the fruit of thy beasts, the increase of thy cattle, and the young of thy flock. Blessed shall be thy basket and thy kneading trough. Blessed shall thou be when thou come in, and blessed shall thou be when thou go out. Lord will cause thine enemies that rise up against thee to be smitten before thee. They shall come out against thee one way, and shall flee before thee 7 ways. Lord will command the blessing upon thee in thy barns, and in all that thou put thy hand to. And he will bless thee in the land which Lord thy God gives thee. Lord will establish thee for a holy people to himself, as he has sworn to thee, if thou shalt keep the commandments of Lord thy God, and walk in his ways. And all the peoples of the earth shall see that thou art called by the name of Lord, and they shall be afraid of thee. And Lord will make thee plenteous for good in the fruit of thy body, and in the fruit of thy cattle, and in the fruit of thy ground, in the land which Lord swore to thy fathers to give thee. Lord will open to thee his good treasure the heavens, to give the rain of thy land in its season, and to bless all the work of thy hand. And thou shalt lend to many nations, and thou shalt not borrow. And Lord will make thee the head, and not the tail, and thou shalt only be above, and thou shalt not be beneath, if thou shalt hearken to the commandments of Lord thy God, which I command thee this day to observe and to do, and shall not turn aside from any of the words which I command you this day to the right hand or to the left, to go after other gods to serve them. But it shall come to pass, if thou wilt not hearken to the voice of Lord thy God, to observe to do all his commandments and his statutes which I command thee this day, that all these curses shall come upon thee and overtake thee. Cursed shall thou be in the city, and cursed shall thou be in the field. Cursed shall be thy basket and thy kneading trough. Cursed shall be the fruit of thy body, and the fruit of thy ground, the increase of thy cattle, and the young of thy flock. Cursed shall thou be when thou come in, and cursed shall thou be when thou go out. Lord will send upon thee cursing, discomfiture, and rebuke in all that thou put thy hand to do, until thou be destroyed, and until thou perish quickly because of the evil of thy doings, by which thou have forsaken me. Lord will make the pestilence cling to thee until he has consumed thee from off the land, where thou go in to possess it. Lord will smite thee with consumption, and with fever, and with inflammation, and with fiery heat, and with the sword, and with blight, and with mildew, and they shall pursue thee until thou perish. And thy sky that is over thy head shall be brass, and the earth that is under thee shall be iron. Lord will make the rain of thy land powder and dust. From the sky it shall come down upon thee until thou be destroyed. Lord will cause thee to be smitten before thine enemies. Thou shalt go out one way against them, and shall flee 7 ways before them. And thou shalt be tossed to and fro among all the kingdoms of the earth. And thy dead body shall be food to all birds of the sky, and to the beasts of the earth, and there shall be none to frighten them away. Lord will smite thee with the boil of Egypt, and with the emerods, and with the scurvy, and with the itch, of which thou cannot be healed. Lord will smite thee with madness, and with blindness, and with confusion of mind. And thou shalt grope at noonday, as the blind man gropes in darkness. And thou shalt not prosper in thy ways. And thou shalt only be oppressed and robbed always, and there shall be none to save thee. Thou shalt betroth a wife, and another man shall lay with her. Thou shalt build a house, and thou shalt not dwell in it. Thou shalt plant a vineyard, and shalt not use the fruit of it. Thine ox shall be slain before thine eyes, and thou shalt not eat of it. Thy donkey shall be violently taken away from before thy face, and shall not be restored to thee. Thy sheep shall be given to thine enemies, and thou shalt ha thy sons, and thy daughters shall be given to another people, and thine eyes shall look and fail with longing for them all the day, and there shall be nothing in the power of thy hand. The fruit of thy ground and all thy labors shall a nation eat up which thou know not. And thou shalt only be oppressed and crushed always, so that thou shalt be mad because of the sight of thine eyes which thou shalt see. Lord will smite thee in the knees and in the legs with a sore boil, of which thou cannot be healed, from the sole of thy foot to the crown of thy head. Lord will bring thee and thy king whom thou shalt set over thee to a nation that thou have not known, thou nor thy fathers. And there thou shalt serve other gods, wood and stone, and thou shalt become an astonishment, a proverb, and a byword, among all the peoples where Lord shall lead thee away. Thou shalt carry much seed out into the field, and shall gather little in, for the locust shall consume it. Thou shalt plant vineyards and dress them, but thou shalt neither drink of the wine nor gather, for the worm shall eat them. Thou shalt have olive trees throughout all thy borders, but thou shalt not anoint thyself with the oil, for thine olive shall drop off. Thou shalt beget sons and daughters, but they shall not be thine, for they shall go into captivity. All thy trees and the fruit of thy ground shall the locust possess. The sojourner who is in the midst of thee shall mount up above thee higher and higher, and thou shalt come down lower and lower. He shall lend to thee, and thou shalt not lend to him. He shall be the head, and thou shalt be the tail. And all these curses shall come upon thee, and shall pursue thee, and overtake thee, till thou be destroyed. Because thou hearkened not to the voice of Lord thy God, to keep his commandments and his statutes which he commanded thee. And they shall be upon thee for a sign and for a wonder, and upon thy seed forever. Because thou served not Lord thy God with joyfulness and with gladness of heart, by reason of the abundance of all things, therefore thou shalt serve thine enemies that Lord shall send against thee, in hunger and in thirst, and in nakedness and in want of all things. And he shall put a yoke of iron upon thy neck until he has destroyed thee. Lord will bring a nation against thee from far, from the end of the earth, as the eagle flies, a nation whose tongue thou shalt not understand, a nation of fierce countenance that shall not regard the person of the old, nor show favor to the young, and shall eat the fruit of thy cattle and the fruit of thy ground, until thou be destroyed, that also shall not leave thee grain, new wine or oil, the increase of thy cattle, or the young of thy flock, until they have caused thee. And they shall besiege thee in all thy gates, until thy high and fortified walls come down, in which thou trusted throughout all thy land. And they shall besiege thee in all thy gates throughout all thy land, which Lord thy God hath. And thou shalt eat the fruit of thine own body, the flesh of thy sons and of thy daughters, whom Lord thy God has given thee, in the siege and in the distress with which thine enemies shall distress thee. The man who is tender among you and very delicate, his eye shall be evil toward his brother, and toward the wife of his bosom, and toward the remnant of his sons whom he has remaining, so that he will not give to any of them of the flesh of his sons whom he shall eat, because he has nothing left to him, in the siege and in the distress with which thine enemy shall distress thee in all thy gates. The tender and delicate woman among you, who would not adventure to set the sole of her foot upon the ground for delicateness and tenderness, her eye shall be evil toward the husband of her bosom, and toward her son, and toward her young one who comes out from between her feet, and toward her sons whom she shall bear. For she shall eat them secretly for want of all things in the siege and in the distress with which thine enemy shall distress thee. If thou wilt not observe to do all the words of this law that are written in this book, that thou may fear this glorious and fearful name, Lord thy God, then Lord will make thy calamities extraordinary, and the calamities of thy seed, even great calamities, and of long continuance, and severe sicknesses, and of long continuance. And he will bring upon thee again all the diseases of Egypt, which thou were afraid of, and they shall cling to thee. Also every sickness and every calamity which is not written in the book of this law, them Lord will bring upon thee until thou be destroyed. And ye shall be left few in number, whereas ye were as the stars of heaven for multitude, because thou did not hearken to the voice of Lord thy God. And it shall come to pass, that as Lord rejoiced over you to do you good, and to multiply you, so Lord will rejoice over you, to cause you to perish, and to destroy you. And ye shall be plucked from off the land where thou go in, and Lord will scatter thee among all peoples from the one end of the earth even to the other end of the earth. And there thou shalt serve other gods, which thou have not known, thou nor thy fathers, even wood and stone. And among these nations thou shalt find no ease, and there shall be no rest for the sole of thy foot. But Lord will give thee there a trembling heart, and failing of eyes, and pining of soul. And thy life shall hang in doubt before thee, and thou shalt fear night and day, and shall have no assurance of thy life. In the morning thou shalt say, would it were evening, and at evening thou shalt say, would it were morning? For the fear of thy heart, which thou shalt fear, and for the sight of thine eyes which thou shalt see. And Lord will bring thee into Egypt again with ships, by the way of which I said to thee, Thou shalt see it no more again. And there ye shall sell yourselves to your enemies for bondmen and for bondwomen, and no man shall buy you. Chapter 29. These are the words of the covenant which Lord commanded Moses to make with the sons of Israel in the land of Moab, besides the covenant which he made with them in Horeb. And Moses called to all Israel and said to them, Ye have seen all that Lord did before your eyes, in the land of Egypt to Pharaoh and to all his servants, and to all his land, the great trials which thine eyes saw, the signs, and those great wonders, yet Lord has not given you a heart to know, and eyes to see, and ears to hear to this day. And I have led you 40 years in the wilderness. Your clothes have not grown old upon you, and thy shoe has not grown old upon thy foot. Ye have not eaten bread, neither have ye drunk wine or strong drink, that ye may know that I am Lord your God. And when ye came to this place, Sihon the king of Heshbon and Og the king of Bashan came out against us to battle, and we smote them. And we took their land, and gave it for an inheritance to the Reubenites, and to the Gadites, and to the half-tribe of the Manassites. Keep therefore the words of this covenant, and do them, that ye may prosper in all that ye do. Ye stand this day, all of you, before Lord your God, your heads, your tribes, your elders, and your officers, even all the men of Israel, your little ones, your wives, and thy sojourner who is in the midst of thy camps, from the hewer of thy wood to the drawer of thy water, that thou may enter into the covenant of Lord thy God, and into his oath, which Lord thy God makes with thee this day, that he may establish thee this day to himself for a people, and that he may be to thee a God, as he spoke to thee, and as he swore to thy fathers, to Abraham, to Isaac, and to Jacob. Neither with you only do I make this covenant and this oath, but with him who stands here with us this day before Lord our God, and also with him who is not here with us this day. For ye know how we dwelt in the land of Egypt, and how we came through the midst of the nations through which ye passed. And ye have seen their abominations and their idols, wood and stone, silver and gold, which were among them. Lest there should be among you man or woman or family or tribe, whose heart turns away this day from Lord our God to go to serve the gods of those nations, lest there should be among you a root that bears gall and wormwood, and it comes to pass, when he hears the words of this curse, that he blesses himself in his heart, saying, I shall have peace, though I walk in the stubbornness of my heart, to destroy the moist with the dry. Lord will not pardon him. But then the anger of Lord and his jealousy will smoke against that man, and all the curse that is written in this book shall lay upon him, and Lord will blot out his name from under heaven. And Lord will set him apart to evil out of all the tribes of Israel, according to all the curses of the covenant that is written in this book of the law. And the generation to come, your sons who shall rise up after you, and the foreigner who shall come from a far land, shall say when they see the calamities of that land, and the sicknesses with which Lord has made it sick, that the whole land of it is brimstone and salt, and a burning, that it is not sown, nor bears, nor any grass grows in it, like the overthrow of Sodom and Gomorrah, Admah and Zeboim, which Lord overthrew in his anger. And I, even all the nations, shall say, Why has Lord done thus to this land? What is the meaning of the heat of this great anger? Then men shall say, Because they forsook the covenant of Lord, the God of their fathers, which he made with them when he brought them forth out of the land of Egypt, and went and served other gods, and worshipped them, gods that they knew not, and that he had not given to them. Therefore the anger of Lord was kindled against this land, to bring upon it all the curse that is written in this book. And Lord rooted them out of their land in anger, and in wrath, and in great indignation, and cast them into another land, as at this day. The secret things belong to Lord our God, but the things that are revealed belong to us and to our sons forever, that we may do all the words of this law. Chapter 30. And it shall come to pass, when all these things have come upon thee, the blessing and the curse which I have set before thee, and thou shalt call them to mind among all the nations, where Lord thy God has driven thee, and shall return to Lord thy God, and shall obey his voice, according to all that I command thee this day, thou and thy sons, with all thy heart and with all thy soul, that then Lord thy God will turn thy captivity, and have compassion upon thee, and will return and gather thee from all the peoples, where Lord thy God has scattered thee. If any of thine outcasts be in the outermost parts of heaven, from there Lord thy God will gather thee, and from there he will fetch thee. And Lord thy God will bring thee into the land which thy fathers possessed, and thou shalt possess it, and he will do thee good, and multiply thee above thy fathers. And Lord thy God will circumcise thy heart, and the heart of thy seed, to love Lord thy God with all thy heart, and with all thy soul, that thou may live. And Lord thy God will put all these curses upon thine enemies, and on those who hate thee, who persecuted thee. And thou shalt return and obey the voice of Lord, and do all his commandments which I command thee this day. And Lord thy God will make thee plenteous in all the work of thy hand, in the fruit of thy body, and in the fruit of thy cattle, and in the fruit of thy ground, for good. For Lord will again rejoice over thee for good, as he rejoiced if thou shalt obey the voice of Lord thy God, to keep his commandments and his statutes which are written in this book of the law, if thou turn to Lord thy God with all thy heart and with all thy soul. For this commandment which I command thee this day, it is not too hard for thee, neither is it far off. It is not in heaven, that thou shouldst say, Who shall go up for us to heaven, and bring it to us, and make us to hear it, that we may do it? Neither is it beyond the sea, that thou shouldst say, Who shall go over the sea for us, and bring it to us, and make us to hear it, that we may do it? But the word is very near to thee, in thy mouth, and in thy heart, that thou may do it. See, I have set before thee this day life, and good, and death, and evil, in that I command thee this day to love Lord thy God, to walk in his ways, and to keep his commandments and his statutes and his ordinances, that thou may live and multiply, and that Lord thy God may bless thee in the land where but if thy heart turns away, and thou wilt not hear, but shall be drawn away, and worship other gods, and serve them. I declare to you this day, that ye shall surely perish. Ye shall not prolong your days in the land where thou pass over the Jordan to go in to possess it. I call heaven and earth to witness against you this day, that I have set before thee life and death, the blessing and the curse. Therefore choose life, that thou may live, thou and thy seed, to love Lord thy God, to obey his voice, and to cling to him. For he is thy life, and the length of thy days, that thou may dwell in the land which Lord swore to thy fathers, to Abraham, to Isaac, and to Jacob, to give them. Chapter 31. And Moses went and spoke these words to all Israel, and he said to them, I am 120 years old this day, I can no more go out and come in. And Lord has said to me, Thou shalt not go over this Jordan. Lord thy God, he will go over before thee. He will destroy these nations from before thee, and thou shalt dispossess them. Joshua, he shall go over before thee, as Lord has spoken. And Lord will do to them as he did to Sihon and to Og, the kings of the Amorites, and to their land whom he destroyed. And Lord will deliver them up before you, and ye shall do to them according to all the commandment which I have commanded you. Be strong and of good courage, fear not, nor be frightened at them, for Lord thy God, he it is who goes with thee. He will not leave thee nor forsake thee. And Moses called to Joshua and said to him in the sight of all Israel, Be strong and of good courage, for thou shalt go with this people into the land which Lord has sworn to their fathers to give them, and thou shalt cause them and Lord, he it is who goes before thee. He will be with thee. He will not fail thee, nor forsake thee. Fear not, neither be dismayed. And Moses wrote this law and delivered it to the priests, the sons of Levi, who bore the ark of the covenant of Lord, and to all the elders of Israel. And Moses commanded them, saying, at the end of every 7 years, in the set time of the year of release, in the Feast of Tabernacles, when all Israel has come to appear before Lord thy God in the place which he shall choose, thou shalt read this law before all Israel in their hearing. Assemble the people, the men, and the women, and the little ones, and thy sojourner who is within thy gates, that they may hear, and that they may learn, and fear Lord your God, and observe to do all the words of this law, and that their sons who have not known may hear and learn to fear Lord your God, as long as ye live in the land where ye go over the Jordan to possess it. And Lord said to Moses, Behold, thy days approach that thou must die. Call Joshua, and present yourselves in the tent of meeting, that I may give him a command. And Moses and Joshua went and presented themselves in the tent of meeting. And Lord appeared in the tent in a pillar of cloud, and the pillar of cloud stood over the door of the tent. And Lord said to Moses, Behold, thou shalt sleep with thy fathers, and this people will rise up and play the harlot after the strange gods of the land where they go to be among them, and will forsake me, and break my covenant. With then my anger shall be kindled against them in that day, and I will forsake them, and I will hide my face from them, and they shall be devoured. And many evils and troubles shall come upon them, so that they will say in that day, H. And I will surely hide my face in that day for all the evil which they shall have wrought, in that they have turned to other gods. Now therefore write ye this song for you, and teach the sons of Israel. Put it in their mouths, that this song may be a witness for me against the sons of Israel. For when I shall have brought them into the land which I swore to their fathers, flowing with milk and honey, and they shall have eaten and filled themselves and grown fat, then they will turn to other gods and serve them, and it shall come to pass, when many evils and troubles have come upon them, that this song shall testify before them as a witness, for it shall not be forgotten out of the mouths of their seed. For I know their imagination, which Moses wrote this song the same day, and taught it to the sons of Israel. And he gave Joshua the son of Nun a command, and said, Be strong and of good courage, for thou shalt bring the sons of Israel into the land which I swore to them, and I will be with thee. And it came to pass, when Moses had made an end of writing the words of this law in a book until they were finished, that Moses commanded the Levites, who bore the ark of the covenant of Lord, saying, Take this book of the law, and put it by the side of the ark of the covenant of Lord your God, that it may be there for a witness against thee. For I know thy rebellion and thy stiff neck. Behold, while I am yet alive with you this day, ye have been rebellious against Lord, and how much more after my death? Assemble to me all the elders of your tribes and your officers, that I may speak these words in their ears, and call heaven and earth to witness against them. For I know that after my death ye will utterly corrupt yourselves, and turn aside from the way which I have commanded you. And evil will befall you in the latter days, because ye will do that which is evil in the sight of Lord, to when Moses spoke in the ears of all the assembly of Israel the words of this song, until they were finished. Chapter 32. Give ear, ye heavens, and I will speak, and let the earth hear the words of my mouth. My doctrine shall drop as the rain. My speech shall distill as the dew, as the small rain upon the tender grass, and as the showers upon the herb. For I will proclaim the name of Lord. Ascribe ye greatness to our God. The rock, his work is perfect, for all his ways are justice, a God of faithfulness and without iniquity, just and right is he. They have dealt corruptly with him. They are not his sons. It is their blemish, a perverse and crooked generation. Do ye thus requite Lord, O foolish people and unwise? Is not he thy father who has bought thee? He has made thee and established thee. Remember the days of old. Consider the years of many generations. Ask thy father, and he will show thee, thine elders, and they will tell thee. When the Most High gave to the nations their inheritance, when he separated the sons of men, He set the bounds of the peoples according to the number of the sons of Israel. For Lord's portion is his people. Jacob is the lot of his inheritance. He found him in a desert land, and in the waste howling wilderness. He compassed him about. He cared for him. He kept him as the apple of his eye. As an eagle that stirs up her nest, that flutters over her young, he spread abroad his wings. He took them. He bore them on his pinions. Lord alone led him, and there was no foreign god with him. He made him ride on the high places of the earth, and he ate the increase of the field. And he made him to suck honey out of the rock, and oil out of the flinty rock, butter of the herd, and milk of the flock, with fat of lambs, and rams of the breed of Bashan, and goats with the finest of the wheat, and of the blood of the grape thou drank wine. But Jeshurun grew fat and kicked. Thou have grown fat, thou have grown thick, thou have become sleek. Then he forsook God who made him, and lightly esteemed the rock of his salvation. They moved him to jealousy with strange gods. With abominations they provoked him to anger. They sacrificed to demons, not God, to gods that they knew not, to new gods that came up of late, which your fathers did not dread. Thou art unmindful of the rock that begot thee, and have forgotten God who gave thee birth? And Lord saw and abhorred, because of the provocation of his sons and his daughters. And he said, I will hide my face from them. I will see what their end shall be. For they are a very perverse generation, sons in whom is no faithfulness. They have moved me to jealousy with that which is not God. They have provoked me to anger with their vanities, and I will move them to jealousy with a non-nation. I will provoke them to anger with a foolish nation. For a fire is kindled in my anger, and burns to the lowest Sheol, and devours the earth with its increase, and sets on fire the foundations of the mountains. I will heap evils upon them. I will spend my arrows upon them, to be wasted with hunger and devoured with burning heat and bitter destruction. And I will send upon them the teeth of beasts with the poison of crawling things of the dust. Outside the sword shall bereave, and in the chambers terror, to both young man and virgin, the suckling with the man of gray hairs. I said, I would scatter them afar. I would make the remembrance of them to cease from among men, were it not that I feared the provocation of the enemy, lest their adversaries should judge amiss, lest they should say, Our hand is exalted, and Lord has not done all this. For they are a nation void of counsel, and there is no understanding in them. Oh, that they were wise, that they understood this, that they would consider their latter end. How should one chase 1,000 and two put 10,000 to flight, unless their rock had sold them, and Lord had delivered them up? For their rock is not as our rock, even our enemies themselves being judges. For their vine is of the vine of Sodom, and of the fields of Gomorrah. Their grapes are grapes of gall, their clusters are bitter. Their wine is the poison of serpents, and the cruel venom of asps. Is not this laid up in store with me, sealed up among my treasures? Vengeance is mine, and recompense at the time when their foot shall slide. For the day of their calamity is at hand, and the things that are to come upon them shall make haste. For Lord will judge his people, and regrets for his servants, when he sees that their power is gone, and there is none remaining, shut up or left at large. And he will say, Where are their gods? The rock in which they took refuge, which ate the fat of their sacrifices, and drank the wine of their drink offering. Let them rise up and help you. Let them be your protection. See now that I, even I, am he, and there is no God with me. I kill, and I make alive. I wound, and I heal. And there is none that can deliver out of my hand. For I lift up my hand to heaven, and say, As I live forever, if I whet my glittering sword, and my hand takes hold on judgment, I will render vengeance to my adversaries, and will recompense those who hate me. I will make my arrows drunk with blood, and my sword shall show dursor flesh, say with the blood of the slain and the captives, from the head of the leaders of the enemy. Rejoice, O ye Gentiles, with his people, for he will avenge the blood of his servants and will render vengeance to his adversaries, and will recompense those who hate him, and will make expiation for his land, for his people. And Moses came and spoke all the words of this song in the ears of the people, he and Hoshea, Joshua, the son of Nun. And Moses made an end of speaking all these words to all Israel. And he said to them, Set your heart to all the words which I testify to you this day, which ye shall command your sons to observe to do, even all the words of this law. For it is no vain thing for you, because it is your life, and through this thing ye shall prolong your days in the land where ye go over the Jordan to possess it. And Lord spoke to Moses that selfsame day, saying, Get thee up unto this mountain of Abarim, to Mount Nebo, which is in the land of Moab, that is opposite Jericho, and behold the land of Canaan, which I give to the sons of Israel for a possession. And die on the mount where the go up, and be gathered to thy people, as Aaron thy brother died in Mount Hor, and was gathered to his people, because ye trespassed against me in the midst of the sons of Israel at the waters of Meribah of Kadesh, in the wilderness of Zin, because ye did not sanctify me in the midst of the sons of Israel. For thou shalt see the land before thee, but thou shalt not go there into the land which I give the sons of Israel. Chapter 33. And this is the blessing with which Moses, the man of God, blessed the sons of Israel before his death. And he said, Lord came from Sinai, and rose from Seir to them. He shined forth from Mount Paran, and he came from the 10,000s of holy ones. At his right hand was a fiery law for them. Yea, he loves the people. All his sanctified are in thy hand, and they sat down at thy feet. He shall receive from thy words. Moses commanded for us a law, an inheritance for the assembly of Jacob. And he was king in Jeshurun, when the heads of the people were gathered, all the tribes of Israel together. Let Reuben live and not die, nor let his men be few. And this is of Judah. And he said, Hear, Lord, the voice of Judah, and bring him into his people. With his hands he contended for himself, and thou shalt be a help against his adversaries. And of Levi he said, Thy Thummim and thy Urim are with thy holy man, whom thou proved at Massah, with whom thou strove at the waters of Meribah, who said of his father and of his mother, I have not seen him. Neither did he acknowledge his brothers, nor knew he his own sons, for they have observed thy word, and keep thy covenant. They shall teach Jacob thine ordinances, and Israel thy law. They shall put incense before thee, and whole burnt offering upon thine altar. Bless, Lord, his substance, and accept the work of his hands. Smite through the loins of those who rise up against him, and of those who hate him, that they not rise again. Of Benjamin he said, The beloved of Lord shall dwell in safety by him. He covers him all the day long, and he dwells between his shoulders. And of Joseph he said, Blessed of Lord be his land, for the precious things of heaven, for the dew, and for the deep that couches beneath, and for the precious things of the fruits of the sun, and for the precious things of the growth of the moons, and for the chief things of the ancient mountains, and for the precious things of the everlasting hills, and for the precious things of the earth and the fullness of it, and the goodwill of him who dwelt in the bush. Let it come upon the head of Joseph, and upon the crown of the head of him who was separate from his brothers. The firstling of his herd majesty is his, and his horns are the horns of the wild ox. With them he shall push the peoples, all of them, even the ends of the earth. And they are the 10,000s of Ephraim, and they are the thou of Zebulun, he said. Rejoice, Zebulun, in thy going out, and Issachar in thy tents. They shall call the peoples to the mountain. There they shall offer sacrifices of righteousness, for they shall suck the abundance of the seas and the hidden treasures of the sand. And of Gad he said, Blessed be he who enlarges Gad. He dwells as a lioness and tears the arm, yea, the crown of the head. And he provided the first part for himself, for there was the lawgiver's portion reserved, and he came with the heads of the people. He executed the righteousness of Lord and his ordinances with Israel. And of Dan he said, Dan is a lion's whelp that leaps forth from Bashan. And of Naphtali he said, O Naphtali, satisfied with favor and full with the blessing of Lord, possess thou the west and the south. And of Asher he said, Blessed be Asher with sons. Let him be acceptable to his brothers, and let him dip his foot in oil. Thy bars shall be iron and brass, and as thy days, so shall thy strength be. There is none like God, O Jeshurun, who rides upon the heavens for thy help, and in his excellency on the skies. The eternal God is thy dwelling place, and underneath are the everlasting arms. And he thrust out the enemy from before thee, and said, Destroy. And Israel dwells in safety, the fountain of Jacob alone, in a land of grain and new wine. Yea, his heavens drop down dew. Happy are thou, O Israel. Who is like thee, a people saved by Lord, the shield of thy help and the sword of thy excellency? And thine enemies shall submit themselves to thee, and thou shalt tread upon their high places. Chapter 34. And Moses went up from the plains of Moab to Mount Nebo, to the top of Pisgah, that is opposite Jericho. And Lord showed him all the land of Gilead, to Dan, and all Naphtali, and the land of Ephraim and Manasseh, and all the land of Judah, to the farther sea, and the south, and the plain of the valley of Jericho, the city of palm trees, to Zor. And Lord said to him, This is the land which I swore to Abraham, to Isaac, and to Jacob, saying, I will give it to thy seed. I have caused thee to see it with thine eyes, but thou shalt not go over there. So Moses, the servant of Lord, died there in the land of Moab, according to the word of Lord. And he buried him in the valley in the land of Moab, opposite Beth-peor, but no man knows of his sepulchre to this day. And Moses was 120 years old when he died. His eye was not dim, nor his natural force abated. And the sons of Israel wept for Moses in the plains of Moab 30 days. So the days of weeping and mourning for Moses were ended. And Joshua the son of Nun was full of the spirit of wisdom, for Moses had laid his hands upon him. And the sons of Israel hearkened to him, and did as Lord commanded Moses. And there has not arisen a prophet since in Israel like Moses, whom Lord knew face to face, in all the signs and the wonders, which Lord sent him to do in the land of Egypt, to Pharaoh, and to all his servants, and to all his land, and in all the mighty hand, and in all the great terror, which Moses wrought in the sight of all Israel. If you like the content, don't forget to leave a like, comment, share, and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss the next videos.